Hello everyone. Great game, terrible name. It's Soviet Workers and Resources. I think it sounds terrible. I'm sure if they'd have named it something a little more exciting or descriptive, it would have done a lot better, because this is really the best SimCity game slash Factorio slash economic management slash dictator sim you're ever gonna see. And the developers put this out again, early access, I'm wanting to say 5-6 years ago, and they just keep on updating it for free. There's no subscriptions, no add-ons, no nothing. They're just rolling with it, which is absolutely incredible. It's a little rare, but it's incredible. At least I think so. All right, that's enough with the intro. Let's go ahead and jump on into the game. And there we go. Almost as if I'd set it up from the screenshots. Okie doke. So camera there, we've got it. Let's get our controls back on. And we'll unpause. So for those not familiar, I played this once before in the channel in December, and we set up our republic to this state. So if you want to watch that, you know, do go and check it out. But for those who can't be asked but would like to stick with us for now, basically we set up a coal mine here, we set up a factory here, we set up the coal ore processing station here. We got a train line that runs through from the coal mine train depot, a little roundabout there, to our little town here. It's currently horrific weather. The town's got its own little water supply. We've got a little shop. We're buying everything in, of course, because we've not developed that far yet. 2 or 3 high rises. We've got a police station, vehicle depot station. We've got a little sewage dump here that's just piping straight into the lake. It's actually a river, so yeah, I think we can get away with that for perhaps a bit longer. Simplified road network. We've got a technical station whose job is to get sewage and so on at this stage. And then over here, we've got a bus connection that leads in from the town over here. And this is going to deliver our workers again to the coal refinery place here, the coal ore processing plant. And that also, not only does it feed the power station, the coal, but the workers again, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, are going to go either way. So here we can see bus coming in just now with 28 workers. And again, some are going to go either way, or at least that's the theory. So check that out. You can see here it's the height of summer, 30 degrees on the 7th of July 1970 here in the Soviet Republic. So very warm indeed. And so I think with that little intro out of the way, let's continue on. So what we haven't got yet, any basic capabilities of building. Oh, one last thing I want to add for those not familiar. We did have our little medium distribution office here, and his job is basically, if the coal thing here is above a certain percentage, and in fact there we can see it's, if it's over 20% full, clearly it is, and then to come here, load up some coal and trundle along and export it with our Soviet neighbors. And that's the only piece of income that we have, if you want to call it a piece of income, is exporting those bits of coal. Because we're buying everything else in, you know, the food and so on. Clearly that's not going to last forever. We were also buying water directly into the water tower, which is a very inefficient way of doing it. And so let's have a look actually at getting our own water. And so coming over to the water network, I'm going to start there. Start with a large water well. We'll have to treat it and refine the water, if that's the right way of saying it, purify it, and that's going to cost chemicals. We will have to bring those chemicals in, but that's going to be much cheaper than bringing the whole water in as one lot thing. So let's get a little road there. That's I should have asked to build that. So let's rubles. Because we've got no ability to build yet. See, we're coming down to about 7 million rubles. We started with 10. And so let's get on with the treatment of this water. And then once we've treated the water, we've got the water well. It's going to run in through the treatment center. Then we're going to get it up into the tower. We've also got a water collection point here, so road vehicles can come collect fresh water and deliver it as and where it's needed. I'm thinking probably the best spot is right around there. Bang. All right. Clearly, we're going to need some water pumps. Let's pump big T to mirror it. So that pump's going to get it from the ground to here into here, and then we need another pump to get it from here up into the tower. Perhaps... Is there room here that's not going to interfere? Come on, why won't you flip? Why won't you flip for me? Because I'm pressing R, not T, that's why. There we go. Oh, that'll do. All right, let's rig these guys up. The large water pipe. So from the... Hang on. Let me escape. Let me get this right. From the water well to the pump. From the pump to the treatment center. From the treatment center into the pump again. And then from the pump into the tower. Too sharp of a turn. Okay, we'll select, how about this way, that way? Well, let's go F3 mode and let's just create a crazy little design that will not be too sharp. There you go. That's how we solve that issue. Now, the water treatment thing, yeah, there we go. We see it's importing chemicals, so that's fine. We can't get away with that. The problem is we've got no workers here. And the same problem here, and that's because it's out of range. And so I'm thinking it's time to put... I almost thought I saw somebody on the path then, but I guess not. I'm thinking it's worthwhile putting a building over on this side now. For that. Let's go with this one. Make sure it's insta-build and that we're getting citizens in. And I think that's going to tie it off there. If we put it there, okie doke. And then the road can come across like thus, connecting it up to the front of the building. I'm going to select on the path, but rather than keep it to build, I'm going to set it for our design, and we'll build this ourselves. So we'll connect this up to the tennis court. We'll connect this up to the, I think this was the store. And we'll continue this like that. Oh, I thought the game was going to crash then. There was like an audio glitch for half a second. Best just save it. Don't want that embarrassment again. Last time I said, oh, this game, you know, it used to crash a fair bit, but super reliable now. And then like half an hour later it crashes. Thank goodness they've got the autosave on and by default, because otherwise that would have been horrific. Yeah, I just had to replay 2 minutes, but yeah. Actually, I think that's fine. I don't think we need to go anywhere else with that. Although I will come out onto the road here. There we go. So we'll click here to OK that. And so rather than that insta-building with money, it's just the plans have gone down. They're looking for our own guys to do it. And so let's focus on that now. Let's just check, did our workers come over here? And they did indeed. So we got 7 workers down the water well. We've got 5 out of 5 on the water treatment. And so now clicking on our water tower. Remember, we were just buying the 1 blob of water. That's so if for whatever reason our workers run out or there's some other issue, if the water gets any less than 1 blob, we'll start purchasing it. But anything else, this is all our own doing. And so this is gradually going to fill up, see, given time. And that's nice, clean drinking water. And that, if we go again underground, we can see is then being piped in to this pump. That's going here to the water pickup point. And the other pipe is being brought into town. I'm just thinking of these guys out of range of our pump, and no, they're all in, which is just, I guess, right on the extremes of the the extremities of the range there. And now we can see delivery trucks coming and going. Okay, doke. What's the new notification? Unemployment too high. Ambulance has not arrived. Well, that's something we've not yet built, a hospital, and it would seem that people are starting to die. We do got a police station, although no police cars, which is a bit of an issue. So let's buy them one police car, and my rule of thumb is just to buy them the fastest car, because it makes sense, I would have thought. Tell you what, we'll buy them two, and then we haven't yet got a court system or anything, but hopefully that can start and do something. I'm not sure if it's capable of doing anything at all without a court system, but apparently currently there's no crime to investigate. So let's give him a hospital. Now you do need to start thinking about universities and whatnot, because clearly you can't just have your average Joe performing operations at the hospital. That being said, let's untick that because we're going to use... do we got a fuel station here? Well, we'll create one. And this will also soak up some of the unemployment because we're going to have workers in the hospital. I'm trying to squeeze them in somewhere where the road is ideally adjoining an existing junction. I'll tell you what, T, I'm going to put in there. Okay, and then my plan here with the footpath, connect these two. Connect that bit up. Connect that bit up. We'll hit OK. And we'll just, again, build the hospital and that. And then hopefully we can get underway with our construction guys. Again, if people are dying, that takes priority over my plans for constructing stuff. Collision trains cannot pass. I think that was from before. There doesn't seem to be any collisions there. I think everybody's doing what they should be in that regard. Alright, ticking in. Let's buy him an ambulance. And again, fastest one. They're all 90 and the car's 100. Oh, that one's 103. Well, a couple of those guys then. We see we've got a couple of doctors in. And again, your peoples are not capable of producing more doctors unless you get in the medical university, in which we'll take a look at shortly. Now, in theory, unless everybody's aside from the guy that died already, is at perfect health, we should see these ambulances going out and dealing with as required. See, there's plenty of employees in the hospital now. That is going to diminish the amount of workers left over that will be at the yards. I mean, look at this. We've just got passengers and students, but no workers at the rail station. Still got workers here, thankfully. But yeah, if we don't get any workers at the rail station, that's going to mean no workers on the trains. That's going to mean no workers down pit. Down pit. We can already see the coal ore is drying up in our little aggregate storage facility here. That's going to mean, despite however many workers are here, they're going to have nothing to do. And then that's going to dry up onwards. So you can start to see now our first little issue in potentially a lack of workers. And the only way around that is to build more stuff, in this case houses. So I'm going to put another massive block on, just because these two, this structure and this one, so the big one that you see here in this version, these never used to be in the game until much more recently. All the other houses were, but these were. But the great thing about these is they hold so many people. And if we look, hover over 337, whereas previously the biggest one was, I think it was this one at 179, which was very nice still, but you know, it's only about half as much for a very similar size. Although I think this is of a higher quality. Let's have a look. That one's 80%, this one's 96. Yeah. So speaking of higher quality, let's get them in, and then we can get some posh people in. I didn't realise we were still in the odd planning mode. Let's just get one of those roads done. And then we should have enough population to get underway with our construction, which is desperately needed. You see, we got these footpaths all over the shop that are planned. Now, in order to get that, we need workers to build the footpaths, but we also need the quarried stone to work with, right? They don't just go there and magically put a footpath down. They need stuff. They need equipment. So where do we get the quarried stone from? Well, we need to find a place where there's some stone exposed, and we'll put a quarry down. Let's see, we've got some small areas here, but I'm thinking here we've got a lot more. This is like maybe quite a good rock face here. And so I think that's going to be it. And so let's come on. Gravel quarry. And again, plan mode. The last thing you want to do on this is have to pay to dig a hole or to change terrain. You know, if you've got your construction facility, which we've got here. Speaking of which, I want deliver mechanisms only with trucks, because your trucks drive much faster than these do. These just tie up the roads. And I'm going to buy a couple of open trailers, and if you look there, you can see it can, at the very end bottom, can load vehicles on flatbed up to 9 tons. So I'm going to buy a couple of those, and then if these things need to be brought anywhere, the trucks will load them up and bring them there, and they can obviously drive much faster. And in addition to that, the trucks can bring stuff anyway, you know, bricks, whatever. Not that we've got any yet, but, you know, one thing at a time. Let's get digging this quarry then. Start leveling it off. And I'm thinking right about there is a perfect spot for our first quarry. See the guys there digging. As we said before, it takes them a lot longer to level off the terrain when it's rock versus soil, which makes sense. And there's the first one. I've not built it, I've just planned it. Again, I'm in my own planning mode. I don't want to pay until I can be sure that I can connect everything up. Sometimes, you know, you build them in what looks like a great place, but it's just too high up and the road network can't get up there, at least not without building a snaky maze of bridges. And if it's going to get like a spaghetti junction, we'll have to rethink. Typically, I like 4 quarries to feed a single gravel processing plant. That seems to keep them busy. Looks like a good spot there. Number 3. You just got one quarry, one gravel processing plant. It's like the processing plant's always waiting for the next truck to come in, and it's you know, just not the efficient way. If anything, you want the trucks waiting at the other end. Come on. Or rather, you want them waiting at the gravel processing plant full of stuff, you know, ready to just drop off. 91, I think that's about the highest I've ever seen. And can we get our... Yeah, perfect. Oh, I just had it there. There we go. Right. Our quarries are planned to be there, so let's have a look. Can we get road? Kind of hard to say. Looks like we're going to need a... Oh, maybe we can. Sometimes, and I realize it's night time at the minute, sometimes you can build a really, really short bit of road. I don't know if you can just see it's green. Hang on, it's green. And then sometimes you can, again, just get away with building short bits of road. Seems like not on this instant. So we'll put a bridge down, and there we go. We've got more road there. There we go. So that's okay. Obviously, we'll continue that on. Here, what's the story? Well, looks like he's going to need a bit of bridge right off the bat. Again, Q and E keys to raise and lower. And we'll try and connect him if we can. Talking to him like it's got some sort of a sexuality as this piece of road, but whatever. Everybody else gets crazy about that sort of thing lately. Why can't I? If I wanna describe the road as a he, she, or a it, they, thee, this, that, thus, God knows what, I can do it. Come on, where? Oh, I just had it there. There was a green bit. This is the worst, most annoying thing about this game. When you're trying to get a bit of road somewhere and there's this one slight bit where it goes green. Same with the building, you know, the terrain's not quite... It's like too steep everywhere apart from this one bit. I'll tell you what, there is another way around it. We're going to raise the terrain over here. And then we're going to try and connect our road to that raised piece of terrain. It still looks like it needs a little bit more. Right, how about now? Surely. There we go. Great, so I want as short as possible. Hopefully I can build one of these guys just straight onto this. It's got to be close as that. It's got to be. Regardless. It didn't look very steep, did it? And again, this is the... You want to call it a disadvantage of building up the side of a rock face. It's like much easier if you put them in, say, here. You've not got much of a hill, but the quality of the source is much lower, so it sort of swings and roundabouts, really. I've picked... I think I've given myself the more difficult option, even though it will run a little more efficiently. Although the flip side of that is the trucks have then got to climb all the way up this winding bridge that is not always the best either. I'll tell you what, I'll go into there and then can I get this? There we go. There we go. This guy, if I'm lucky, might just be able to thread a road around because it's very close. See, it's almost... Oh, it's almost... Where was it? There. Let's... Aha, there we go. Aha. 10 points to anybody that can name me a song that starts like exactly like this. Haha. Well now. That was, I remember when I was a young kid. I mean, it's obvious now the world's gone to pop, but when I was a young kid, it were obvious. And so when you heard a song that was like, you and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so we're gonna do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. I mean, to hear that was like, oh my goodness, these guys are pushing it out and going a bit extreme. I can't believe this song was ever allowed. Yeah, how the times have moved on, right? So we got this one here, and just trying to build an off-ramp for these three that we've tied up. Come on, so it's too steep. If we can just get the first bit going, then we could potentially just build a bridge off of there. We'll have to see. Again, this is... I've really made this more difficult than it has to be, I think, but there we go. So we got these three guys connected on the plan. We've got that guy connected, great. And if we can get this road off the... Let's just get it connected up to our existing network for now. There we go. And again, I'm just going to pay for that. And so with that successfully everything connected, let's buy the quarries. Or rather, but yeah, buy them because we can't build anything yet. So that's slowly going to change. So there we go, the quarries. Let's buy them a digger. And yeah, the best one. 1, 2, this one, 3, and this one, 4. Now these are going to bugger off and go and get fuel. Now if you take a look, they've basically got to drive all the way over there. And look how slow they drive. And they're going to keep on requiring fuel as time ticks on. And so I'm thinking the best thing to do for these guys is give them... I didn't realise you've got a miniature... That's new. Best thing for these guys is to give them a fuel station close to where they're going to need it because of how slow they drive. And we're going to have dumper trucks up here all the time anyway, getting the stuff. And so... level terrain. Oh, no, no, no. I don't want to pay for it. What am I doing? There we go. Level terrain. So I'm thinking... if I move the camera away from the train a little bit, well, it's on pause, rather. Hopefully, I can wedge the fuel station in there. Now, these guys are probably going to just continue on their way to the other one. Make sure we auto-purchase resources for the fuel because, again, we don't got any fuel yet. Build. Build. Of course, we need to power this area. But just before we do, let's get the quarry processing thing in because that's going to need power as well. So the gravel quarries, it's the processing plant. And this is where dumper trucks are going to bring whatever's been dug out here. They're going to deliver it here. And let's see if that'll work. That's a decent spot. I do want to build a separate road network though because, you know, the things are going to go very slow. And we're using this road for faster. Now, cars can overtake. You know, if there's something going very slow, they can overtake. But, you know, as in the real world, that's not always the case. You know, there can be hills, junctions, blind bends, stuff coming the other way. They can't always overtake. But in any case... now that is about as good as I think we're going to get. Perfect. I am going to extend this road down here like that, and then if there's a fire, we've got quicker access here rather than it having to go all the way around. We'll okay that. We'll okay this. And so now the plan is to put a substation down. Yeah, and you can see it's going to cover all of them there. The reason I'm putting it right over here is because I intend, you know, the gravel pit thing needs to then offload the gravel over here, and that's going to need power as well. And so that's why I moved the substation as far away as I could get away with from these guys. And looks like, oh, we got some spare power nodes here, so let's grab this one and pull him all the way across this way. The reason I'm not cutting right through those trees is I'm going to want to chop those trees in a minute, but for now this guy's connected. Let's just verify that is the case, and now you see it full voltage, so that's all good. By the way, all of that is simulated as well. If you go to the overlays and building properties and come over here to the voltage, if we push the range out a bit, you can actually see how much voltage all of these things, of course the substations and whatnot, are much higher. Clearly the power plant is going to be really high. And if we come over to the wattage, you can see how much everything is either generating or using and whether it's happy or not. So again, they count it all and how much fits through the wires, and there's only so much that can fit through the wire. It's again, it's insane how detailed this game is. And of course this goes for heating and everything. Speaking of which, everybody here is going to die if we don't get heating sorted out by the time it cools down. So that's going to be next priority. All right, the quarry, we're going to need workers. And if we get the footpath, we can see we've got an entrance here for the footpath, but it's too far away from anything. So we're going to need our trusty little bus stop again. And I'm thinking right around there will be nice. Insta build. Same with this bit of road. select the footpath. I'm just going to plan it, and then I am going to have to build this ahead of time because otherwise our workers won't be able to use it. So something like this, and then there we go. So we'll okay that. So with this platform here, and I'm going to, it's got a weird sort of a name. I'm going to rename it to something a little more friendly, and we'll call it Quarry Bus Stop. Now, the next thing we just need is some workers going there. Although there's no quarry yet, so even if we got workers, we've got no quarried stone. These guys are on the return. Look at them, they're all marching back in. And fuel-wise, they're pretty full tank. And we got this fuel station, so when they need some again, that's going to be much quicker. We've got a delivery truck here bringing water, which is nice. Speaking of which, sewage tank, well, there's only this one, but regardless, let's drop that in. I could have sworn that was rigged up. There we go. Okay. Alright. Bus lane to here. So let's get the bus depot. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't use these guys again. I may even get... Yeah, let's get 2. So this is going to be our second bus route because clearly we've already got one bus route running. So we're going to just give these a new stop there. And again, we just want to load the workers, nothing else. And we've got workers without education, basic or university. We do not need university types going to work on a quarry. They won't anyway. It's a waste of a bus seat. And so load those guys. And then the second stop is clearly going to be here. And there it can load or unload anything. I mean, if anybody happens to have wandered there, sure, we'll pick them up and drop them off back in town. Okay, let's launch that. And if we take a look at line detail, I'm going to rename it. And I'm just going to call it the quarry line. We'll save that. We'll try and separate the spacing. They haven't measured it yet, but as soon as the bus has gone there and back, it'll have an idea how far the whole line is. And at that point, if we use more than one vehicle, it'll try and separate them evenly. And this is going to be the other vehicle. So we'll tell it, get on the quarry line, go. And now we've got 2 buses on 2 lines, or 4 in total. It is going to leave us short on workers here because we're just going to have too many buses. And the easiest way around that is I'm just going to drop off another block of flats. And make sure it's like there, nice and close to the bus station. Build. And I'm just going to plan this path here so I don't forget. There we go. And I'm going to click here, start construction. But again, I've got nothing to build with. At least not yet. Still no workers there. I guess the first bus, well, I guess this is him on his way. Maybe not. Now he's coming over here. You know what? Let's rename this one as well. We never did. We'll call this, we'll just call it the power, we'll call it the power stop. We can even rename the bus lines. If you take a look at this, come over to the passenger line. Quarry line, we already renamed that one, so let's rename this one. So here we can actually, you know, renaming the bus line, you know, like the circular line, or get bus route 225, or I don't know what. And we'll just call this one the tell you what, the coal power line. And we'll okay that, and then it's easy at a glance to see here, especially once things start getting bigger, who's doing what. And a little clue there as to what vehicles we are going to get access to as time ticks forth. Right, the dug up quarried stone is not going to get down here by itself, and that is going to require dumper trucks. And I really like, where are we here? We get obviously everything from the road depot. I really like these dumper trucks. They move very slow. If you look at max speed, 35 kilometers an hour, it's at about 21 mile an hour. But take a look at how much they can carry, 25 tons. If we come over to the dumper truck thing here, you know, you compare that to some of these 3.5 tons, 7 tons, 7, the biggest one here, 12, 5, 12, 3, 4. So 25, yes. Change the color of it for free. That one, I guess, quite expensive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll buy 6 of them to start with just because of the cost. And just like with passengers, we create a line for these, and the line is going to be pick up from here, drop off here, 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 and then I'm going to set all the dumpers onto that same line, and then that way everything here is basically going to get an even dip in. You know, you don't want a massive queue at one and the other guys all sat empty waiting. Clearly there's going to be a little bit of a queue at the first one while these guys get there for the first time, but after that it will sort itself out. So first guy, new stop, here, load, here, unload, here, load, here, unload, here, load, here, unload, here, load, here, unload, and that's they're all sorted. By the way, if you just default click in the first, it automatically goes between load, unload, load, unload. So if you ever get something out of sequence once, everything after that is going to be back to front. The way you get around that is accidentally on purpose, get something out of sequence again, and kind of like 2 wrongs making a right, 2 negatives make a positive. It's kind of that sort of a thing. And so, yeah, there we go. So with all these lines sorted, no longer needs any new stops. They're all there. We'll tell him to go, and we'll rename the line, and we'll just call him the quarry dumper line. Let's call it that. Save. Yes. And now it's just a case of setting all these onto the quarry dumper line. Now, why don't we see the passenger line? Because the game's clever enough to know you can't use a dumper truck on a passenger line, and you can't put a bus on a dumper truck line. So it's automatically filtering out irrelevant lines, which is, again, don't really matter when there's only 2 or 3 lines, but when you've got a shed load of lines, it begins to matter. And the reason these are all setting off instantly is because, of course, they need to pull out of the depot. So if we come over here, we see them slowly pulling out. And as they pull out, of course, they disappear off this list. Now, I think we didn't build a fire station, which is just as well. We've not had a fire yet, because you do get fires, and stuff, if you don't put the fire out, basically destroys. And early on in the game, when you're short on money and resources and everything, that becomes kind of, especially if it destroys something key like this, a power station, it can basically be the end of a game if you're not careful. So that is something else that I kind of assumed I'd done last time and clearly have not. Auto purchase resources, I'm going to say no. And we'll plonk these guys. I'm going to plonk it. I want it relatively close to the... The reason I built it here is obviously it's a straight shot down here to the power plant, but it's also not too far away from the bridge to get over to the far side. as soon as it's built, which is now, we're going to have to, as before, buy a couple of fire trucks. I quite like this one because if you take a look, max speed on this particular truck is 87, whereas the rest are all less. Apart from this one that's 90, but it's only got, if you look at the features, it's only got a fire putting out ability of 4. And if you look at this one, it can do it 9. So having one of these on site is over twice as good as having one of these. And so I don't think the 3 kilometers an hour is worth it, despite the cheap price. That said, these guys have got a putting out ability of 12, even though they only do 80. And they look good when it comes to fire trucks. I think these two look the best. Yeah, so this one for the speed. Let's get that guy because he's got the ladder. And then if we need a third guy, we'll go for that guy because he just looks like a proper fire engine. Either way, as soon as we got the trucks in, if we look at the firefighters, they're now coming in to work. If you got fire trucks without firefighters, I mean, it sounds obvious, but it ain't gonna do anything. So a quick glance over here. Water tower is full, which is nice. How are we doing with regards to the sewage? Look at this. We can't keep up with the trucks that we have. If we come underground, I am going to put one more sewage collection facility, whatever you want to call them. What do they call them? Sewage tanks. I mean, okay. It's just a means to either gather the sewage up into your pipes or for trucks to come. But if I put a second one up there, yeah, it's going to fill up. But it basically gives our sewage technical services a second destination to go get sewage from. What I'm going to do is buy one more sewage truck as well. And again, the one that can carry the most, which is this one. And then as soon as I've built him, no doubt he's going to be sent off on a mission because there's sewage overflowing everywhere. And there he goes. You see this guy just continuously picking up shit, literally. Because everything here is overflowing, no doubt. I mean, look, he's going in. It's 12 out of 12. And you can see as he's loading up, he's loading up to 10 square meters of the shit. The thing's instantly refilling because again, these buildings are all, you know, got it in and all. So it's anyway. That extra truck should hopefully help facilitate keeping everything on top there. We've got the dumper trucks finally here now. So take a look at this quarry here. So he's digging up the stone, which by the way lasts forever, which is helpful. And our first truck now, was that the first one? Or was there one? Oh no, there's the first one. And so these trucks are going to bring the quarried stone in here. And providing we've got employees here, which we have, because we've got our bus line dropping them here, 15 out of 15. This is going to start getting the quarried stone into gravel. Now we want the gravel collected kind of like exactly the same we get the coal collected here, which by the way is full. So I'm thinking if we buy a couple more dumper trucks just to help export our excess coal, we can even export power, which may be worth doing as well. We'll take a look at that in a sec, but for now, let's make sure that this doesn't go to waste. So we'll go storage, and again, the large aggregate. Let's plan it initially. I think the way I'm gonna the reason I want to split it here is because there's going to be a couple of different places this is going to go, and it didn't seem possible to connect two aggregates up. Now you see here there's multiple, I realize it's dark again, but there's multiple plans taking place. And I don't want that. I just want the one. And so to get around that, I'm going to plan it roughly where I want it to be, which is about there. And then when it's ready to build, I'm going to hold the control key down just so those plans don't auto-generate. And now I'm going to manually connect it. There we go. just going to build that instantly with the rubles. I'd say instant pay for it to be built, and you see it's almost instant. We'll connect that bit of road. We'll build that with rubles. We'll obviously build the conveyor transfer with rubles. This one with rubles as well. Now we can see, if we zoom in, the gravel rolling along the conveyor belt there through this engine, and it's now starting to pile up in here, the gravel, which is brilliant. And then we come to the aggregate here. We say we want the, where are we here, the truck loading one. There it is, the truck aggregate loading. We connect these arrows up here like this. Can we get one here? Just not quite enough room. Okay, we'll do it there. Take a look. There's that auto suggestion, which is fantastic. That's what we want. A little bit of road here. And now we've got our first resource available for building. In this case, the gravel. So we'll come over to our construction guy here, and we'll tell him, well, workers, where are you going to get your workers from? Well, the bus stop with the workers is here. And the next one, gravel, where are you going to get your gravel from? Here. Now he's saying, well, we're missing a dumper truck. Well, you are indeed. So let's come over here to the dumpers. Now, I don't want to use this one because it's too slow, despite its ability to carry stuff a lot. The construction factory can cover larger distances. This one's quite good because it's got a stronger engine. I like this one because it goes a little faster despite having a slightly weaker engine. But also this one's much cheaper as well. So I'm going to get a couple of these guys. I'm also going to get a bus because we don't got a bus for the construction yard. We see we've got room for 4 more vehicles. Clearly, they're going to need that. I'm going to buy that using dollars. And if you take a look at the reason why, if we come over to the dollar menu, one of the few vehicles that are well worth buying here, the Mars 305, 105 kilometers an hour, and it can also carry up to 95 passengers. This, in my opinion, is the best bus basically in the game. So I'm going to buy one of those. Let's have a look what construction yard is going to do with this newfound stuff. Well, we see the 2 dumper vehicles have already gone. The bus is still there. By the way, we've already done it. It's going to auto search for jobs that need to be done, and up to a range of 3,000 meters. You can change that here. 2, 1, 2, 3. You can't ask for it to search more than 3,000 meters. That is not as the crow flies, but as the road network. So if you build a mazy road network, he's only going to search for 3,000 meters down the road, even though the end thing may only be over here. And again, if there's not a road connection to where he needs to be, he won't build there. Yeah, he needs to be able to get there by road. He will build a road, so you can build a road with a factory at the end of it. And in that case, he will build the road first and then the factory second. Of course, if you get like helicopter building stuff, clearly they can fly. They don't need a road. But now we'll take a look at that as the game evolves on. Right, so I'm happy about that. Now, clearly these guys, here they come, in fact, we see that these are the 2. We've got no other dumpers coming down here. They're going to grab the gravel, and then they're going to go to some assigned job somewhere. So we'll track this guy. We'll stick the camera on him. They can obviously load 2 at once. It just depends on what time they arrive. And so this guy, whichever job was at the top of the list for that construction yard. Now, it may be a footpath, but it may also be laying the foundations for a road. Because clearly, before they can put the asphalt and whatnot on a road, it needs the gravel in the initial stages. So we'll see where this guy goes. We'll follow him, and then we'll carry on with something else. Nice little interlude. And it looks like, again, because they have to go along the road, looks like he's going to lay it here. And there he goes. So it's just dumping the gravel down, and I'm imagining that his pal's going to do the same. So we'll disconnect that. I do think it is worth putting a fuel station in town, because yes, we've got one over here. Yes, we've got one here, but we don't got one in the town. And, you know, it's a bit of an out-the-way way to go for fuel. And if one of our vehicles runs out of fuel in the town, they may not even be able to get that far. See... I think if I place it here, I'm aware that the road isn't yet built, but it seems to be it's kind of tight, but maybe a little bit too tight actually. Just because I want the footpaths, I press T to flip it round and again get the roads where possible matching up with the road on the other side. It just helps with traffic flow and stuff like that. And so especially in the when you're expanding into a new area or you're in the early stages of construction, the thing that you're going to most need is dumper trucks, because you need gravel for almost everything, whether it's the foundations of a building, roads, footpaths, whatever it is. So for me, it's time to build another construction yard. Now, ideally, I like to build them together and then build immediately around the construction yards everything that they're going to need. So gravel, as well as steel, wood, and all the rest of it. Speaking of which, I think the wood yard's a good one to do next, just because it's quite an easy one to do. And we've got a lot of trees here. So, construction office, we've got the wood cutting post. So again, I'm going to pay for this up front, and you can see the area that's going to cover. By the way, it cuts down the trees, and once they're cut down, that's it. So at some point, if you're going to play it long enough, and there's so many trees on the map, but at some point, you would need to buy wood from abroad, which thankfully is cheap to do. But, yeah. I think that's a nice large area, the wood cutting post there. Now, the thing is, once we lay this road down, we are going to lose some trees just because of the road. So don't just go placing this willy-nilly. I'm going to go direct as direct as I can. Of course, saying that, there would, of course, be this little hill that's going to screw me over good and proper. Let me just see if I can shrink the area down. I'm using the mouse wheel, by the way, to adjust how much of the terrain I'm going to impact. And I just want right about there. You can see it's destroying the trees, and so I want to be very careful. Still need a little bit more. And the road's going to do the same anyway, but there we go. That's what I was trying to do. So something like that, and then I'm going to be really careful not to change anything, or we're just going to lose more and more trees. Unfortunately, there's no way around that. That's going to happen every time. Again, using the mouse wheel to change the style of the curve in the road. So I'm going to try and curve it around those existing trees like that. We'll okay that. And I'm not sure if this is going to be in range of these guys. And again, one easy way to find out when the construction's complete, select either building. In this case, I'll go for this one. Hover over the path icon, and you can see exactly how far the people are able to walk. And indeed, they can get there. You can see 320 meters. So it's on the higher end of their limit. And providing there's workers available, and here we've got one. We've got a guy moving in. He's even bringing a suitcase with him. And clearly they're going to work much better if you give them some vehicles. So I'm going to give them a logger and one of these lorries with a crane. I think that'll do. And you'll see, providing there's workers, they'll start taking these trucks out. There's another worker arriving there, and another. Just compressing time a little bit, so hopefully we get to witness. There we go. So there's one of them going out. And you see there's been some logs prepared already for him. And he'll just load them up and then he'll bring them back here. In theory, we should see this guy going out as well. There he goes. And so they're just going to get to work and bring the, the logs back here. Now we then need to chop the wood up into boards to make use of them for construction materials. And so like everything, I say everything, a lot of all, or almost all of the base resources have like a two-step thing. Getting them out of the ground, or mining them, or digging them up, or chopping them down, or harvesting them. And then the secondary process that converts that raw resource into something that's usable. And then later down the line, the usable stuff gets mixed into various other things. So let's get the sawmill then, and it might be tempting to put it there, but again we're going to lose a load of trees, but I don't want to put it far away either. Now notice we got these yellowy dotted line things. We've not really looked at those yet, these yellow arrows here. This enables you to move resources around, and we're going to and store them more efficiently, but have easy access to them, which is brilliant. Because if we take a look here at this one, notice here it says wood storage, and we can see 0 of 50. So now this lorry it's going to unload the wood. It's only capable of storing 50 tons, and it's the same with almost every building. There's like a limit of what it can store, and it's quite a low threshold, which means efficiency is going to be affected quickly. However, we can get around that by using, like we did here. So what we said was, with the mining, if you mine the coal ore, drop it in here, and we can see it's now filling up. Why? Well, if there's not enough workers in here to deal with it, if the capacity is full, which we see it's basically full, all these miners are basically not going to be doing anything. So they're going to be on the job, not doing anything. With the coal all getting stored here, when the miners go home, but let's just say, because they're brought in by train, these guys are brought in by bus, they're not now going to care. Even if there's nobody down the pit, it's not going to affect the production of this processing plant, because it's got over 15, almost 1,600 tons of coal ore to draw from before it becomes a problem that there's nobody down the pit. So we're going to do a very similar thing over here, but with the wood. And I'm thinking over on this side, we've got a lot of room here. I'm aware the lorry's going to have a little bit of a distance, but it's a lorry. It doesn't, I don't know. I think here actually is going to be the better one, just because it's going to have to come over here, round through the center of town. Yeah, let's put it here. So my plan is, yeah, we're going to chop the wood, but before we chop the wood, I'm just going to have a storage space here for the truck to bring the wood to initially. Sure. No, it's not pre-recorded. It's not pre-recorded, but, nearly no viewers. I'm a tiny channel, for goodness sake. But, yeah, hello there to you anyway. Right, so yeah, so not putting down a cargo station, because to me, cargo stations are really important when you get a lot of stuff, but for a little thing, I don't think it's worth it. So what I'm going to do is have a road, straight connection in here. I'm going to build it myself, or at least level the terrain myself. Hello, by the way, Harderly Streams. It was a good guess, though. It could have been pre-recorded. Let's give it a 12 for Hardly Streams, just to prove that we're not pre-recorded. There we go. And yeah, so the wood's going to come in here, the raw wood. Look how many logs they've got ready for pickup. That soon happens. And if you take a look at this, it's getting there full. So bring in the logs in here. Messages take time, sorry. Yeah, a little bit. A little. They do take a moment or two. Yeah, I've only got a tiny channel, man. I'm lucky if I get not many watch live, but at the end of it, I'm lucky if I get 100 views. But I've not been at it long, and I mix up my games, which is never good for a YouTube channel, right? Usually they stick at one game. But, I mean, I want to mix things up. I have my other channel that is purely for one game. That's where my views are at. That one's monetized. But the problem with that is, when you get monetized and you're on one game, eventually you sort of feel a little bit boxed in. Because if you try and branch out into other games, people don't like it. They want that one game. In any case, back to this game. It's a really, really nice game. This is, all right, first off, I'm a tiny channel. I'm in no way related to anyone that makes any games. This was one that was on Steam, like everybody is, years ago. Everything early access, and often you get these games early access. They never seem to quite live up to what they were promised. Every once in a while, one does, and this was one such game. Again, I've had it for about 5 or 6 years. No subscription, no add-ons, and the game is so deep, and the developers just continuously work on it, so I really like that. In any case, so we got the raw wood bringing in here. They're going to drop that off here, so my plan is after that, the sawmill will turn it into boards. Now we see these little yellow things we've not used before. When they connect up like that, what that means is if the wood's dropped off on the left, this sawmill will just pull the wood through as and when it's needed. And that same concept goes for anything. Now, these don't stretch on forever. They've got a little bit of a range, as you can see, but they don't go forever. So I think to about there. Take a look at which way around the main road is. I think down here, that's fine. And then what I'm going to do is on the other side, we'll actually store the wood once it's been chopped up. So that's the plan for part 2. Yeah, I can really if you want to get the way, I've always sort of thought this, right? There's some games that you can pick up and in 5 minutes you can just play them. There's not much to it, there's not much depth. Take like racing games, that kind of thing. You load them up for the first time, you're in the menu, you hit race, and within 5 minutes you know what you're doing. There are other games that take a little bit of time to learn and master, that take hours and hours, if not days, to sort of complete, if that's the word that you want to use. And to me, those games are a lot more rewarding, even though they do take a little bit longer to do. And in my opinion, those are the games that require a little bit of a brain. And that said, I have featured some of the other kind of games as well. Yeah, so let's take a look at... Let's just connect this guy up with the road network here. So I'm going to feed it in behind that pub, and there we go. Again, I'm still early on in this game, so I'm not yet at the point of being able to build my own roads, but we are getting there. And if we take a look at the what's happening out there, we're getting all the brown, and that's because if we look at the season now, we're moving on into autumn, so we're getting on to the point and time of year where we're going to have to, at some stage, get the heating in for these guys. Otherwise, literally, your people will freeze to death. And if they freeze to death, that means no workers. And no workers, well, everything grinds to a halt. It's obvious. Speaking of workers, we got 3 guys in here, and you can see they're complaining about missing wood. And that's because we've got no means to get the wood from here to here. So let's go and resolve that. I'm going to click on the depot, and I'm going to go for open. Each truck type moves a different kind, so let's have a look. Concrete mixer, that's obvious. It's your cement. Covered hull. This is going to move stuff, your goods, your electronics, your alcohol, obvious clothes, that kind of thing, as in real life. Then you've got your dry bulk. This is, your refined cement, your aluminium. I haven't played XCOM, but I've got a friend who plays it, and he says it's really good. Dumper trucks is, your coal, your gravel, your, stuff that is, well, dumper trucks, right? And then where is there one more? Clearly, oil tank, your fuel, your oil, your gas. open hull, that's what it is. So this is going to be steel, your planks are wood, your prefabs, and this is exactly what we need to move stuff from here to here. So let's look for something that's reasonably big. This one here, look, he goes up to 88 kilometers an hour, and if we look on the wood side, he can carry up to 10 tons. Now I'm only going to buy one of these. We'll click on him, and as before, it's always the same. Now, we've got an interesting option here. So, look, if we tell him to go here first, we can actually order him to wait until he's loaded. What that means is, if there's a little bit of wood there, but not enough to fill it, this truck is not going to go off half full. He's going to wait until he's full, and then we're going to give the opposite order over here. So, here's where he's going to drop it off, and then we're going to say, wait until you're empty. And the reason is, imagine if he fills this entire storage space up with wood. He's going to go back and forth with a full load of wood, but by telling him, no, wait here until you're empty, then he's going to wait there. And doing that is not going to be wasting fuel or clogging up the road. Don't just use this for everything, because especially if you've got more than one truck going to a place, you'll end up causing traffic jams, and if there's a fire somewhere, and everything will fall apart. So use that a bit clever. We'll tell him to go, and as before, I'm going to rename the line so that we can remember what this guy's for, and we'll just call him the let's call him the woodcutter line. And yeah, by the way, if you select the line, you can see here on the green where he's going to be intending to go. Oh, you're from Germany. Ah, ich bin halb Deutsch. I live in England, but yeah, ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. Früher ging ich immer nach Deutschland zu meinen Omi und Opa besuchen. Hessen, Frankfurt, da in die Gegend. Also wenn ich Deutsch schwätze, es ist ein bisschen hessisch dadurch. Aber es war jetzt schon ein paar Jahre, seit ich da war. Also ich bin ein bisschen nicht mehr so gut flüssig mit Deutsch, wie ich einmal war. Aber es geht, es geht. Ich kann dich verstehen, wenn du Deutsch schreibst. Anyway, there. Little bit of German banter there with somebody visiting us. Yeah, so here we go. So this first guy, let's get the eye on him. See, he's loading up the wood, and if we got the stats here, 8 tons... Let's speed up time a little bit, 9. And so he's now on his way to where we tell him to drop off. So let's follow him so we can see what happens. I'll just speed up time a little bit. Now, why has he not gone straight there? Well, take a look at his fuel. He's running out of fuel. So his first priority is to make sure he doesn't run out of fuel. Then he'll do it. So let's speed up time. We did put a station here somewhere, and that's where he's going to go. You see why it's important we get that fuel station in town sorted out, because these guys have been given these detours here. Alright, there we go. So he's got his fuel. Now he's going to drop off the wood. Danke, gutes Deutsch. Somebody here has been far too kind about how well I can speak German, because I can just about stumble over my words. And so here he is, this truck. So see that there? I'll just pause it and escape these. He's dropped off his wood, and so we see now these wooden the wooden logs here in the storage. And now, because we got workers here, if I unpause, they're going to take in the wood and export the boards. Now, the boards are going to end up in here as well. To make sure that doesn't happen, I'll just turn that down a sec. I'm going to forcibly limit what is in here, and I'm going to say I only want wood in there. I never realised that this is a new feature. Wait and type it in. So let's say 100% wood. Is that going to work? Alright, let's manually just click it the old way. And so what's going to happen is, because we've limited this to wood only, all of these other resources are not going to be allowed, which includes the boards. So where do we put the boards? I want the boards to come to another place. So if we tick on this click here. I'm going to put a medium-sized storage, and I'm going to put these guys here. Making sure that that yellow thing doesn't block the road or my ability to build a road. Again, everything needs to have a road connection because anything can set on fire, and you need to have fire engines. Now, why did that not connect? What's the problem? Oh, we're on a hill. That's too big of a hill. So there's why we didn't build this. We just planned this. That's the perfect example. Otherwise, we'd have wasted our money there as we figure out, oh, he's on a hill. So let's just lower this. I need a free... So my bulldozers, the reason I don't got access to them now is they're busy doing a job somewhere. If we click on this and click on one of our bulldozers, view the eye, here we can see him. So we got one of our construction vehicles down here patting down that quarried material. So it's nice to see that our construction guys are starting to get some work done. We got a notification here with an electricity problem. It's not multiplayer. It would be really good, and it doesn't. It does have mods in the Steam store, but I like to play it just the way that it's designed. But yeah, it does have a very strong community on Steam, but it is not multiplayer. It would be really good on multiplayer. Kind of like, there's a lot of games like this now that are like the prison game and Factorio. Would be nice to have it multiplayer, because I think you could work together, co-op, clearly. Yeah, so it looks like it was just a temporary glitch on power, because they've got power now. Yeah, look, we got multiple. So what I think happened was we ran out of workers at the coal power plant briefly, and in that time, every building lost power. And because of that, we've got a load of notifications about a lack of power. And so if you get more of these, again, the two ways around it. One, we lay on more buses on the line. And again, we got two buses bringing workers from the town to our power plant. Or we put more houses around the station here so that more workers are in there. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, no, it's your olden time, build your own, you know, you're the dictator, really. It's what you say, and that's kind of it. Proper Soviet style. But yeah, it would be cool to see it on multiplayer. Yeah, so I'm going to see, do we got any ability to lower this down yet? Of course, the other way to do it is either to pay for it or to buy more bulldozers. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So come over to the construction menu, build another construction office. I'm going to build it over this side. There. Speed up time just to get it built. You'll find yourself doing that a lot. Deliver with trucks only. I like to push almost everything out to 3,000 unless there's a specific reason not to. I mean, why limit yourself? Open hull. 1. Bulldozer. Let's go 2. Let's go 1 excavator. 1 roller. 1 road crane. 1 tower crane. 1 paver. We've already got an open hull. Excavator, we've got a couple of dumpers. 1 covered hull. And then 1 bus. And again, I want to buy that with dollars because of the better bus. Workers. From here. Gravel. From there. Now we haven't got asphalt yet, and we're going to have wood shortly. Wood's the next one. Have we got spare now? If not, I'm just going to... Yeah, we do. So I'm just going to lower this down. Do you know what? I'm going to pay for it just so it's quicker. Look how quick that goes when you're paying for it. Cost me 15,000 rubles to do that, but Saves waiting a bit of time. Thank you. Yeah, it's about a year old and I started properly streaming. I don't know, when was it? About a month or so ago. If you have a look, I never really used to do much on it. But thank you. And my other channel as well is about a year old. The one that I just do my flying videos on. But that's the one that's... I don't know. It's getting on to about 5,000 subs, that one though. But again, it's completely different. Right, so medium. And I'm going to place this down here. And this is where we're going to get the boards from. Let's see if this works. I need to be able to connect the road. There we go. This will work. I'm going to pay for the storage. I'm going to pay for that little yellow brick road connection. And now the workers immediately get back to it. And this is where they're going to fill up with the boards when they've done so. And because the boards are filling up there, if we come over to general cargo and get our first, where are we? Road depot, road cargo station. The other one I like. This is going to let more lorries come in at the same time. So we've seen over here, like here, you can only have one lorry going in at once. If we put a cargo station down, we can literally have 4 lorries coming in at once, which is a much more efficient way of doing it. So I'm going to place that down there if I can. Yeah. Connect that up. We'll hit OK. Yes. Yeah, because I want to have... So here we go. We've got our first few boards there. There we can see them. And so these are ready for construction. So if we come back to our construction offices, there's one. Click on this and we'll tell him here if we come down to boards and we'll say you can get your boards from here. And same with this guy. Boards, pick them up from there. See what their problem is there, if anything. Now currently they're wanting an asphalt plant. I guess this guy's going to be the same, yeah. And that's because they've got these roads that they're supposed to be building. And they've put the quarried stone down, but they now need the asphalt. And I think asphalt plant is going to be the first thing that we've made where we require more than one resource. You know, so far, to make wooden boards or planks, you just need wood. To make coal, you just need coal ore. To make asphalt, you need 2 things. And so let's take a look. So we'll come over to our construction one here. And there we go, the asphalt plant there. And if we see on the drop-down menu, to make asphalt, they need 125 tons of gravel and 20 tons of bitumen. Now, bitumen is a sort of byproduct of oil. Now, because we don't got oil yet, the only way we can get bitumen, at least for now, is to import it. So we'll have to pay for that as well. Keeping an eye on the temperature, because time's ticking on. We're going to need the heating in next. Let's get the asphalt plant done for our construction people. Now, it's something else. You need to get your workers in. So you need to think, where am I going to put it? Well, we've already got workers getting bussed in here because of, you know, our quarry. So it makes sense to have this guy here. Now, he also wants access to quarried stone. And we've got that here. The gravel. And so if we can connect this up. Let's get our conveyor belt. I think let's plan it first. Yeah, always plan it if you're not sure it's going to work. Because otherwise, again, I say it every time, you'll end up wasting your money. So let's try there. Let's try connecting the road like that. But thank you very much, Hardly Streams. I do appreciate the messages of support, but by no means expected. So that's the plan initially. And then where are we here? The construction. asphalt tank. There we go. But the truth be told, I'd be playing anyway. So I may as well share some of my favourite games with other people that may or may not be interested. So we see there that connects up. So we've got the gravel bit connected, at least in plans. So let's just pay for that, or pay for that to be built, just because we can't build it ourselves. Got this bit of road here. That I am satisfied. We'll build that ourselves. Now we got a notification. Well, that was when the power plant stopped production. A new combine is available. That's it. So if we take a look once this is finished, which we're almost there. We spent 4 million rubles so far. So we've got about 6 million left before we start needing to be able to make a profit. Asphalt plant. Well, what's the problem? It's without water, it's got no workers and no bitumen. So let's deal with these issues one at a time. Water. I'm going to put a substation down, and it may as well reach the quarry as well as the wood chip yard. So if we put it, where are we? Right about there, it's going to reach everybody. And then hopefully our technical services that are delivering the water, if they've got a brain, will just deliver here, and then this will supply water to the surrounding area, drinking water really. And here we can see it. So if we click on that, related vehicles, we can see here there's a vehicle currently heading to this building, and if we tick on it there, here we see it. So yeah, the first guy's coming in, so that's working nicely. And he's going to bring our water here, and that's going to supply everyone. Now when that's done, clearly the top error message is going to disappear. The next problem is there's no workers. Well, is it within range of our bus stop? Let's find out. Let's hover the footpath. We can see it is just, but I'll tell you what, we can help that out even more by putting a footpath. I think from here, we'll thread it through here. What did I do wrong there? Is it too close? I'll tell you what, we'll try coming in from the other way first, see if it's even possible. Oh, it is possible. Just. There we go. Alright, we got workers. We're waiting on the water delivery, then we'll have water, and that's just taking place now. And so the only thing missing now is the bitumen. So to store bitumen, we need a tank. So we'll come over to the liquids one, and here we go. So you see this tank here can hold oil, fuel, or bitumen. Those are the choices. Makes sense to be very close, just so that it's we're not wasting money building long pipes. So I'll put it there. And again, I'll pay for it. I could just click here to pay for it, but again, then you're paying to level the terrain as well, and that's a waste of money. Now, you can't mix fluids. That makes sense. It's either oil, or it's fuel, or it's bitumen. So when you click on it, you've got your options here. Oil, fuel, bitumen. We need bitumen, so I'm going to click that. That's going to ensure nobody's allowed to put anything else in that tank. Now we could click here and directly buy. So if you click here, we can directly buy bitumen, and that's kind of what we did for the fuel and for the food at our shop here. We see it's buying them directly in. Now we can do that, but I just feel at this point in the game, it's time to move it up to the next level. And so I'm going to build a little road from here to here. We'll see, maybe... I'll tell you what, let's just go like that. Okay. just to get it started, I'm going to one-off buy. So if you come over to the buy menu, and by the way, you can buy in either dollars or rubles. Here you see it's auto purchase or manual. Manual, just think of that as being a one-off purchase. And so as a one-off, let's buy 55 tons of Bitmint. Okay. And then from then on, we'll get the delivery. Now, the only reason I did that one-off, and you see it's already less, is so that our asphalt plant gets underway. And look at this. The only problem now is to say that they can't store or export asphalt, which is correct. It's produced as it's required. So if you see that, that isn't an error message. That's basically saying it's ready to work. And so now we'll select our construction yards. You see their asphalt plant is not assigned. Well, with pleasure, it's here. So we'll assign it. And as soon as we do, we'll probably see our dumper truck, which is this pink one. He's probably going to go picking up the asphalt now. We'll do the same over here. Asphalt plant and assign it. Did we build another one or was that it? I can't remember if we got a third one built yet or not. Maybe not, but either way. And if we zoom in, there's the first one from this plant here. He's going to load up his asphalt and again take it to wherever is needed. So let's select on this guy. Let's track him and pick up the pace so that everyone can see what happens once you deliver asphalt somewhere for the first time. And it's probably going to be that road again here. I say probably, and he actually delivers it here. So we see we've already got the paver on station. The road's already been had the quarried stone on. And so the paver there. And if we click on the actual construction itself, we see it's slowly taking place. Now the reason it's going so slow is because we've got no workers here. These units are basically capable of a very slow construction by themselves. If the bus was to bus workers in, everything would go much quicker. Again, providing you've got the resources there to do it with. So let's speed up the time. See, we're going to tick over into October soon, and the temperatures are really dropping. And there he goes. Off he goes. And if we click on the... Let's just do away with those and click on the road in question. To look at, we can see it's almost complete. And if we see here, that is indeed the case. 35%. We see here, it requires another 22 working days. There we see we've got steamroller. And again, having a vehicle by itself without any workers does the job, but just very, very slowly. And soon this piece of road's going to be complete, which I think will be our first piece of road we've built. Now, the construction yards are clever enough to not just do one thing at once. In fact, if we zoom out, you can see here highlighted in green is everything that this yard is assigned to do. And where possible, it tries to do everything, you know, first off in order. But, you know, if it's got a spare construction vehicle of some kind, if it can't do the job list at the top, it's short of something, whatever. Maybe it's already got a pile of resources at the construction site, but just waiting for workers to get there, whatever it is. That isn't going to cause the whole thing to just stop working. It'll just start delivering stuff to the other ones. And so it is an efficient thing. And again, if it's ever short on anything, it'll tell you at the top. So if you look at your thing, you say, why isn't it building? Click on it and it'll tell you at the top. And so let's get the heating in, and then I think that will round us off for today. As we see, we're ticking on into October now, 1970. Temperatures starting to drop. So let's come over here to the heating menu, and we've got a choice between small and large. It's a reasonably small town, and I find actually the small one to be just easier anyway. We'll take a look at why that is. Once we get a first city that's a little bigger. When you build these, you see you've got these little, aside from the usual, the road, we've got the conveyor belt in there for the coal, the footpath icons there, the two blue ones. We've got these little red wavy lines. This is where the hot water pipes come out of. Ideally, if possible, you want those pipes facing towards where you need them to be. In other words, the town or the city. So I think I'm going to place them there. It does produce a small bit of pollution, so you don't really want to build it smack in the middle if you can help it. So I think right around here. Now the thing needs coal to operate, so I'm going to build a small storage. And this is where we're going to deliver coal to. I'm just going to wiggle this around until I can find the way that this will fit without interfering with the power lines. So about there. Now I could build one of those dumper drop-off points, but I don't think there's going to be that much coal going through here that it warrants that. So let's build a road connection. I'm going to make that. I realized I could get my guys to build it, but time's ticking on with regards to the year. We need to get this built before. Let's get a road connection to the heating plant because workers need to go work there, obviously. So we need a connection to the people in town. And so now the only thing that would prevent this from working, if we take a look, is, all right, wants a bit of drinking water. Well, that'll be sorted soon enough. Our technicals are going to deal with that. It needs workers. Well, that's just a case of waiting for somebody to trundle down the footpath. And here the first guy's coming in, so that's workers sorted, and then of course coal. Well, we've got our conveyor system set up. We just need this to have coal. This one says building without power supply, and these things don't generally work without power. There's a very few buildings that don't require power, but generally speaking they do. Certainly anything that's obvious, like a powered conveyor belt connection, for example. So let's put a substation down, and I'm going to place it about here. And we'll just connect these guys up. Now, we do got access here. This would be the easiest way to do it, but I did just want to show as well, you can split these wires up. So if you come to a medium voltage switch, let's just do this for the sake of the example. We'll use it here. Just connect that road up like that. Right, over to the power pylons. I'm going to pause the game because when we delete these power pylons, clearly it's going to cut the power off. And you don't want to cut power off. So I'm pausing the game. I'm going to delete this particular wire here. So cancel wires there. I'm now going to reconnect these to here. I'm going to connect this one to here. And this wire, don't forget, was coming from here, which is electrified. So once I unpause, I'll have to build these wires very quickly. That gives us this slot here, which is going to enable us to connect this. Now, we could run these above the ground, but just because there's a load of stuff, let's run these wires underground. So I'm going to come over here to the underground wires. I think we can get away with one of the smaller ones. I'm going to hit F3 to go underground. And I'm going to lay my wire out like that, and then like that. There we go. Going to build that instantly. Coming up top. Let's unpause, and the wires, there we go. We've paid for them. And so they'll have only been without power for about a split second. So now if we come back here, basically all the problems are resolved if we see. Now we want coal here. So let's take a coal to make sure nothing else gets put there. And I'm going to, you know, like we did with the wood, we could just have a truck going back and forth. But again, I want to take things to the next level. And so let's use our medium distribution office here. Now, remember, this guy is already picking up coal, our excess coal, and then exporting it across the border. That's the only way that we're making any money at all at the minute. And you see, it's not even enough to stay level. I'm going to give this guy another connection. So loading up coal, well, that's fine. That's what we want. So we give him a new task here. And we're going to click on the building here. Now, his default is to come here and load. Well, we don't want him to load, and there's nothing there anyway. So I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to check unload, and then come down here to the coal option. We want him to unload coal. Now, here is going to say to what percent. So it's going to keep the building topped up to about 30%. Well, in my opinion, There's no reason to just have 30%. Again, the coal isn't going to go to waste. It's going to be stored or used here. So I'm going to up that to about 70, even 80%. And then once we unpause, when a lorry next becomes available here, in fact, we see some coming in theory, this office should divert some lorries to replenish our empty stocks there. So let's pick up the pace and see if that happens. See, some of these lorries, let's see, where's he gonna go? Well, he's due to the custom house. What about this guy? Custom house, this guy. Well, they're still all due to the custom house. I'm gonna buy just a couple more dumpers. Maybe we get lucky with the first one. Let's see. Where's he gonna go? So let's select him. Now, he's going to be what appears to be the first guy that's going to our storage. So he's not going to the custom house. So he's going to go here first to load it up. Let's follow him. We see a full load of coal is now worth 234 rubles, a full lorry full. So not a huge amount, but and when we've got 10 lorries running back and forth, it slowly adds up. And so this guy clearly now is making his way towards storage place, and as soon as he does, and as soon as there's coal in the heating facility, it should spring to life and with a bit of luck supply heating for the town, because it is starting to get a bit chilly. It did drop down to 9 degrees there. It's suddenly jumped up to and it's going back down as the year winds its way down. So here comes the first truck. Slow time down. In he comes. Unloading the coal. We see the coal here. And starting to feed now into the heating plant through the conveyor belt. There we see the smoke coming out the chimney. And if we take a look now at these statistics with regards to the heating plant, specifically this one here, so I'm going to unpause. We see slowly the temperature and the pressure of the entire system starting to rise. So if we unpause and select one of these buildings that should hopefully be in range. Let's select this guy. See if he's in range. So if you hover over there, we see he's just about in range of the heating facility. Take a look here at the temperature gauge for the building, the boiler temperature. If I unpause again, we're looking at this one here. If I speed up time, now you can see it rising. And of course, that's absolutely vital in winter. Now, all the power's suddenly gone out. And again, I'm suspecting it's because we've got no workers here. And now you see it's 0. Now, has that bus just dropped some people off? Either way, we're short on people. So this here is really, really bad. Not only do we not got power, all the industry grinds to a halt. And importantly as well, our train being electric also grinds to a halt. So we really can't allow that to happen. So I think I'm going to put another bus on the power line and then possibly another residential unit here. So let's buy another bus. I'm going to unpause to normal speed and tell this bus it was the coal power line. We named it helpfully. Go. And then down here, another building. And we'll know that there's been a successful drop-off in people because the power will suddenly jump to life. Where's the next bus? That's a construction bus. It's one of these orange ones. Well, it's going to be this guy. So we've got a little while to go without power. Either way, let's get one of these buildings in because this is getting urgent. I'm going to put one of these brick ones down just to vary it up a little bit. And I'm going to place it right about here if I can. I realize there's a power line going through. Where then? I want it to place it that way around. So this power line is in the way for me. So I'm going to have to delete it and then move it. I'll put the house down first and then I'll build around it. So I want it right about there. I think the safest way would be to build behind and then across like that. You start to see some of the advantages and disadvantages of building above and below the ground. And if your own guys are building the wires, they build underground a lot slower. Which makes sense, right? So I'm going to put a road here. I'm going to go like that, actually. There we go. And then back here, we're still without power. Going to plan a footpath. You see, your people won't walk across the grass at all. They're going to go always only on the footpaths or paths. And again, they're limited by max range. And I can't remember what is it exactly. I think it's yeah, so you see, they can just about get up to that building. I think it's 400 meters. And so here, if we look over here, yeah, you can see they're not going to go beyond. So it's really important that you give them, for example, here, rather than all the way around, it's vital that we give them this connection here. And then that's going to cut all of those distances in half. So if I just build that, and now we click on the same building, hold on the walking, now look, they can get everywhere. This was about 300 and some before we built it. Now we see it's 165. On all these other buildings were unaccessible. Now you see they can reach them with ease. So we're filling up nicely here with the boards. Everything's ticking over nice. Now, how about this guy for heating? So hover up this guy, over to the heating, and we see it's out of range. It's like everything. The water substations, the electrical substations, they only reach so far. Same with the heating. So to get this guy reaching over here, we're going to have to build, and do they call them heating substations? They call them heat exchangers. Nothing like this exists over here. I don't know if these really existed in Russia, or if people had to produce. If you don't produce your own heat, either with a boiler or a fire or something, you know, it's gonna be cold in your house, and that's your tough luck. It's certainly not down to the state to heat your own house on your behalf. I think some people, if they're older, can get help with insulation costs, but that's about it. So here, maybe that fits in nicely, and we can see those little red lines, kind of the buildings it's going to reach. And so coming underground again, let's rig this guy up with the heat pipes. So again, we've got heat pipes that go above the ground or below, just like basically everything in this game. And I'm just going to click from here to here. That's not going to work, so I'm going to, again, have to get a bit creative by myself. From there to there is going to work. And then from there, will it plug in? Well, I'm going to have to continue to design. You can also go Q and E to go further. Sometimes you need to go, see, like that, a bit further underground. So let's try that. And then maybe it will connect. And indeed it will. So let's build that. Again, we're paying for this up front. So when that construction is complete, if we tick on this building here, keep an eye on the temperature there. We see it's reading 0. And now it's coming up just as well, because look at that, outside 3 degrees. And now it's coming up. Now we are going to see some snow in winter. And as you may expect for a game that the developers love and care for, snow doesn't just go on the grass for graphics, but lands on the roads. Snow on the roads mean everything moves slower. And so to deal with that, you need snow plows. And you don't have to. You can let everything crawl along. But, you know, in a game that basically depends on you getting people and stuff from A to B, it's not the best way to go. Now, heating problems. So if I click on this, it could be an older message. And if we pause on it, indeed, look at the boiler. It's very hot. So that is an older message. Doesn't apply. So I'm going to delete that. Electricity problem is also an older message, so let's delete that. You can click on here and just hover over electric. I think these were all problems from before, so I'm just going to delete all of those rather than read through them individually. Speeding up time a little bit, just trying to think if there's anything else that's well, I think it would make sense. Yeah, this sewage line, it's basically that we ain't got enough trucks to keep on top of the situation. Did we build that? Is that pipe built, or is that a plan? Difficult to tell. It's built. Sometimes you've got to... We can see it's been built. Okay, so the next thing really, I mean, this is our sewage discharge thing. We could build a pipe all the way from our sewage tank here to there, and it's quite an expensive thing to do. I'm going to task my population to do it. I will show how you can build stuff even though you're not yet got the resources. We know we're going to need steel because clearly pipes need steel, but we've not got any means of producing steel yet. But we can buy steel, and then we can use that bought steel to get our own people to do it rather than asking a construction team to come in from abroad, which is basically how we've been doing everything. So let's plan it. So we'll get a large pipe. And again, we're not going to pay for it up front. We're just going to plan it. And again, sewage has to flow downhill. So if the sewage is flowing uphill, it's not going to let you... You know, for example, if we build the wrong way, you can see there, we get that requires proper slope message because, you know, makes sense. Shit flows downhill. Let's just leave it at that. So we could build at one continuous pipe, but I think it's... Because you may have more sewage collectors like here, you can actually get them to join together at a sewage switch. So let's do that. Sort of a place where it can all gather together and then flow onwards. So let's see, can we get from there to there? Yeah, we can. So there's one plan. Now this one up here, I'm going to build a slightly smaller pipe. So that's my plan for that one. And then from the switch, there's only one of these that goes out, 3 in, 1 out, which is what you want, right? You want to gather up numerous sources. And yeah, there we go. And so that's there. Now, when we click build, again, it's just basically telling our construction officers, hey, we want this thing building. And the problem is going to be we've got no steel. So let's hover over. What's his problem? No workers at the station. And they're, of course, talking about this one. Here's where they come from. See, one of our problems is we've got students galore, as well as passengers. They've got nowhere to go. Passengers just want to visit somewhere else, not a working place, but they want to visit somewhere else. Well, we've not got a somewhere else that they can visit. And because of the students, it would make sense to build a second town that has got somewhere to visit, i.e. shopping centre, cinema, sports stuff, anything like that. And then a university as well for the students. And I think that's going to help unclog some of the stations because these people are basically just there not doing anything. Now we can untick them here that basically says if you're passenger or student, don't come here. But I think rather than doing that, let's get a second town built, or at least get it planned. And I think somewhere over here is going to be nice. And then eventually we'll... I was going to say surround the lake, but of course it's a river. But we can build a bridge over there. So I guess, yeah, surround the citizens. Again, I always like the large platform. We'll plonk that down here. No need to go too far. Planning the road out either way. Yep. May as well connect the existing one here. Qatar and the whole football World Cup drama. My opinion is that I am a little bit too old to be interested in that sort of thing. And I don't mean that in any way disrespectful, but I remember when I was younger and, you know, school and, you know, everything was like football and I was always up on these things. Being in the UK, obviously, you know, Man U, who do you think's going to win? What about that ref the other day? Oh, it was clearly offside. No, it wasn't. You know, I was all into that. And then one day, don't know when it was, I woke up and I felt a little bit older and I just didn't care. Like, and then I realized, like, you know, I've never been one of these that says, oh, they're overpaid and it's so wrong. Because I think, well, look, if you think they're overpaid and it's wrong, why don't you go do it? Like, they're the best at what they do. And that's why they're paid a lot and whatever. But I just don't get caught up in the drama at all. So much so, I couldn't tell you who won last year or the year before, because I just don't follow it anymore. And that's not just football, that's all sports. Now, some people are going to say, what, and you think gaming, that matters more? And to me, I think it's not that gaming matters more. It's that gaming is accessible to anyone. You don't need to be in the top point whatever percent in order to do it as a not just as a hobby, but as a profession. You know what I mean? These footballers, it's their job. And so I realize that's perhaps not the answer you were hoping for, but that is my answer. I just don't follow it. I'm not interested, and I don't follow any of the dramatics on anything. To me, the dramatics are engineered, cooked up to get everybody all het up, and then one side says this, the other side says that, and they just have at it, and I just don't play into that anymore. And again, whether that's sport or whether it's politics or whether it's some other news thing, that's the way I roll. No. Yeah, let's get this guy connected. Again, I'm planning it first just to make sure it works. And our little roundabout here that serves very well on this game. Build. And again, the signal, I went over this last time, but basically you want the normal signal out and the chain signal when it comes to coming in to anything like a junction or a roundabout. And that makes sure you don't get traffic jams, basically. It only lets people through if they can also get out at wherever it is they want to get out, which is what you want. You don't want trains blocking up a roundabout so that then nobody can move. And I'm going to build the second one about there. Just so that we've got this up to max capacity. Again, one way, one way, one way. It's a respectable opinion, thank you. It's I mean, it sounds like a bit of a cop-out, really, not having an opinion on certain things. But honestly, I don't. I mean, I know some people, right? And you hear them sometimes, and often women are the worst for this. And it's like, well, she said that, he said that, you said that, I said. And you hear this argument, and it's like, does it even matter? Just if that, and these people, some lives, they revolve around who said what and when and who did this to whom. And how, and it's like, just get over yourself and just worry about something else, man. Honestly. Yeah, so the wood gathering up there quite nice. The heating system situation sorted. Now, when we see the snow, we're going to need the snowplow. By the way, you should know my streams now. Whenever I say, oh, after this next bit, I'm going to call it a day, and then I build the next bit, and then half an hour later, I'm still going. It was like that last time I played this game. I remember it now. Yeah, so these guys coming in this road. So, yeah, we see it's going to take quite a while. We have got construction vehicles in, but nothing is going to help this more than building yet another construction office. Now, heli construction offices are really nice. The problem is helicopters, A, are really expensive, and B, use a load of fuel, which is also really expensive. And so until we've got our own fuel supply and we're making it, you know, big time with the money, that is kind of not really an option. So we'll go for the regular construction office. And we'll keep it over here. I don't want to build into this area because we've got our trees there. But I think right around there is perfect spot because that's going to connect into this existing junction. I'm just going to quickly save. It is auto-saving anyway, but regardless. And same option there. So deliver mechanisms only with trucks. And that's so you, again, you don't get these little guys driving around really slowly. They get loaded onto a lorry, come down here, the auto search, push that out to 3,000, which is the max, unless you've got a reason not to. And then let's start filling this up. Where are you going to get your workers from? Here. Gravel, here. Asphalt, here. And your boards, here. Now, we said we was going to get some of these other things sorted out. So steel, bricks, and prefab. Well, we're going to buy them. But just for now. We'll eventually make them ourselves. Because the problem is here. What's this? Actually, no. Let's deal with the problems. Concrete is what they're short of. Now. Is it the same with this guy? Yeah, concrete. So how do we get concrete? Well, come over here. Concrete plant. Now take a look. What does concrete need? It needs gravel, and it needs water, and it needs cement. So 3 things to make concrete. So let's get the concrete plant just somewhere in the area. Now here's gravel, so we may as well try and use that so to effect. So say something like this. Bearing in mind, we're going to need workers for this as well, so we'll make sure he's in range of that bus stop. So maybe there. So come on, let's get the footpath sorted first. Do I think there is a game genre or title with too little attention? Yeah, I think most of them. I like games. Hang on, let's think about this a sec. I like games where, generally speaking, where when you first run them for the first time, you think, what the hell do I got to do here? This all seems a bit confusing or complicated, or it's not obvious. And so you got to go away and you either there's a manual to read or you look up something online. And it basically gets you into the basics, and then you try and do the basics yourself, and then it's like, oh, that worked. I'm starting to see how it works. And then you start tinkering around and you figure a bit out yourself, and it's like, yeah, actually, this is a really good game. I'm enjoying it. There's a lot of games, and I often criticize them, even though I have, again, played a couple lately that were all right. And it's where, again, it is. Don't get me wrong, you can have a lot of fun racing and things like that, but there's some games where I'm struggling to think of an example off the top of my head, but you know, Call of Duty was one where amazing graphics, but there was no, you were walking down a single corridor, if you like, from start to finish. You could choose, do you go 3 or 4 meters to the left, do you go 3 or 4 meters to the right, but that was basically it. You had to go down this corridor. The graphics were really good, but there was no, oh, I want to try and go around all the way around the side and sneak in through the back. I want to try and go up the other way and see if I can go through the roof. No, everything was always down this corridor. Nobody could ever do different, except we're going to go 2 or 3 meters. You know, do you want to hide behind the wall on the left? Again, 3 or 4 meters on the left or the right. And in my opinion, those games have got too little. It's the freedom that I don't like. The graphics are really good, but then again, games where you're only ever going to see one thing anyway, because that's the only way to play the game, you can make good graphics. I guess the complete opposite of that is something like Flight Sim, where you can literally fly anywhere in the world, where it's the opposite of a corridor. Granted, and it's up and down as well as side to side. Obviously, I wish that there was a bit more of a mission on Flight Sim. It's very much a do what you want when you want. Yeah, the VAT Sim thing, you can make it as realistic as you like. You can get flight plans, you can do real world stuff, but at the end of the day, there's this. And there are add-ons I know that you can get where you can pretend to be an airline and you've got to get people from here to there. And I don't know. There's pluses and minuses to everything, but there's some games that are severely lacking. And when they make games compatible for console, at that point, you can basically write it off as having any depth to it at all, because a console is not capable of depth. A console is like a graphics card with a controller and not much else. And, you know, some games don't need much else. Again, the racing is a brilliant example. There don't need to be any depth in a racing game. It just needs to be graphics and a thing that counts how fast you're going, a thing that counts what gear you're in, and that's basically it. And yeah, so that's my elongated answer. And again, it's just my opinion. I mean, clearly it is, because I'm saying it. There's going to be some people that agree and a lot of people that don't agree, but it's the way I see it. Don't get me wrong. When I was young, 10, 15, it was at a time where nobody really had computers, and the few that did, and I was one of them, it was your geeky type of kid, and I was a geeky type of a kid. I guess I still am the geeky type of a bloke now, but being a geeky type of a kid, yeah, I was being much younger, into the simple kind of games, and I would sit there whacking the heck out of keys over and over, just pressing the same key over and over as you're shooting an unlimited amount of bullets into some, I don't know what, but trying to find your next health pack that was hovering somewhere. Yeah, alright. When you're young, those games are fun. When you get a bit older, you start and realise, like many things, right? Toys are fun when you're young. When you get older, you think, what on earth did I ever find interesting about this cheap plastic shit from China? It's like, you can't understand how it could have ever been fun, and I guess games are the same. You evolve, your tastes evolve, and that's all I'm going to say on it. Let's carry on. And so, yeah, games that sucked to me, maybe I would have really enjoyed 20 years ago, and I guess the same goes for anyone. Alright. So that's our cement plant done. Now, where are we going to get... our concrete plant done, but he needs cement. Now, we do make cement as well, but for now, let's just cheat with it. So, where are we going here? I need some storage thing for the cement. Where are we here? Here we go. So, the cement silo. So, we'll whack that down. I'm going to place it there. Now, what else does this little thing need? Gravel? Well, take a look at that. He's got gravel. And that's because we connected it here with this little thing. Cement? Well, we've got the thing there. It's not built yet. Only needs water, and then that's it. Okay. Water. Well, we can build him a pump and just put it straight in. At least we don't need to cleanse the water. So there's the water small pump. I'll place it here. And then we need the water well, a small water well. Advantages being the small water well doesn't need any workers, but it only, if I recall, doesn't need workers. But it's yeah, it doesn't need any workers, but it obviously gets much less water than the big water well that does need a few workers. So, again, swings and roundabouts. I'm going to place that here. Let's connect these pipes up before I forget, and then we'll do the road network. So I'm going to go for a medium pipe. From the water well to the pump, from the pump to the cement factory. I'm just going to OK that. Bang. Come up top. Cement factory needs a road connection. So I'm going to build that here, and these things do as well. Don't need street lamps. I don't see why. We've got a footpath here for the workers. Let's start the path. And again, I'm building it myself to expedite the process. Once we got everything we need for our construction sites to basically build anything, at that point, it takes the pressure off a bit, and we'll be running out of money then about anyway. So connect these roads. And then I guess just connect this road here. And maybe even round here. Now, if this is high enough, we'll be able to run a road underneath, and we can. So I don't see any reason why not doing that as well. Oh yeah, the water well, build, and the pump. So now it's got the water, but he's complaining he's got no cement, no power. Well, that's because it's out of range. So let's put him another substation down over here. And best place to connect. Where was this guy? Yeah, so this one here, this power, I'm going to split it yet again. It's either that or we've got to route a new cable all the way across. So I'm going to get this guy. Pause it just while I do it. Disconnect these. Connect. Hang on now. Actually, yes. We'll connect him to there, and then this one is the one we're going to thread through. So the advantage, once the stuff's already built like we've done here, it makes it a lot easier to thread these wires around and they don't clearly get in the way. We can cross that to there. Just about fits there, and there it goes. So we know now that if we unpause, that's connected. Build the substation here. Let's just check there's nothing on fire. As soon as there is a fire, I will show you that. And so now he's got his power. He's just short on workers and cement. We didn't actually build this path. So here we can see the path is assigned to these construction offices. And in fact, we've got our first dumper truck on the way who's... yeah, he's here, look, bringing gravel. So let's see if we can do this. What we do need to build, though, is this silo. It's pointless waiting for our people to build it. We haven't got the stuff to do so. So the concrete plant requires... sorry, Hardly, I missed that last one. If I could make a game, what would be the max priority to me? So for me, priority is always that the game is somewhat, in some way, either realistic or believable. So whether it's a simulation game where you're sat in the cockpit, the thing is somehow a realistic model on what already exists. So whether it's a train, a bus sim, a racing, flying, some way realistic. And if it's not a simulation type game but more like this, like a management game, again somewhat realistic. So you've got an economy to manage, you've got resources. That to me, the worst kind of game for me are these weird fantasy style monster slaying, because I just think, like, to me that is so far from, it's like, you know, it's a fantasy game, all right? Not to say that that's bad, it's just for me, I prefer something where I can, I can see how this is based on real world. Now, whether it's accurate or whether they get it right, I always prefer the more accurate things. But, I mean, being a dictator of a Soviet-era republic, I mean, how accurate is it? I don't know. Who does, right? Stalin, I guess, but he's dead, so who knows? But again, to me, the focus on realism, whatever other genre the game is, the realism side of it, to me, And then after that, sure, the better the graphics, the better the sounds, all of that stuff, playability, random little surprises, so it's not always the same, evolving stuff, you know, all of that. But the first thing for me, that it's in some way realistic, and I try and have games like that. Now, where games are just completely not like that, so take for example a game of Tetris. Obviously that's not trying to be realistic, it's a completely separate type of a game. If you're playing a game like that, then where it tests your brain a little bit, and so I would answer it like that. I hope that's a reasonable answer. Probably the best one that I've given, actually, because I felt like I could answer that. Alright, so we got this built here for the cement. Again, to turn into the concrete. And yeah, we can just buy it, but again, I want to push things to the next level. Of course, we could also just produce it. So I think what I'm going to do, let's change that song, it was annoying me a little bit. So I'm going to import this myself. I'm going to use this one to do it. So we'll click over here, got the cement truck. I'm going to buy 2 of them. And when it goes to the custom house, which is here, rather than just tell it to unload, because it's currently unloading coal, I'm just going to pause. I'm going to tell our construction office to load cement. It's important you tick it, because otherwise it'll load everything. So tick cement. You can tick more than one thing if you need. And then we're going to tell it we need a new connection, which is going to be here. And we're going to tell it to come there. Now, the default here, it's saying load. Well, we don't want it to load. We want it to unload. So swap those. Unload cement. Now, the reason I'm not filling this to 80% is because we're importing this cement. So we want enough to keep it ticking over, but not too much, because at some point we'll be producing our own cement in turn for the concrete. So I think 20% full is fine, because if we... I'll just pin that so it doesn't disappear. If we tick on this, see it's capable of storing 1,400 tons, so 20% is still a lot. So I'm going to unpause. And if we view the factory, the distribution office, they can see sending the cement trucks out. And again, they'll be trundling off to the border here. They're going to buy cement and then drop it off here. Now, just again, seeing as we set that up, I'm just going to quickly one time buy a very small amount just to get the process going. 51 tons. Now that's done. If we click here, we've got 4 workers in, we've got water, and as with the asphalt, they can't store or export concrete, clearly, right? Concrete, you've got to keep it spinning. Otherwise, once, you can't store it because it'll just dry and go hard, and then it's, useless. Unless, of course, you want it to dry and go hard, like when you're building. So we'll get our construction offices who are complaining that they don't got a concrete plant, and we'll say, well, your concrete plant is here. And we'll do the same for this guy. But the way that you do this, you select the construction office, you click this, which is where all its things it gets from are. And the reason it doesn't automatically find them is obviously as your map gets bigger, you can have numerous offices. Some are going to be closer than others, and you may, for traffic purposes, want to send some this way, some that way, whatever. Then you click this here just to say you're going to assign, and you can't assign wrong. So for example, with the concrete selected, let's say on try and get it concrete at a fuel station, it's not going to let you. You've got to click on the right thing. So there is that. And then I'm sure we got one more guy. It was around here somewhere. Was it him? No, he's done. I'm sure I built a third one. There is a way that you can find. If you come over to buildings, list of buildings, construction, all map, and then it lists them here. So we've got this one, which we assigned. We've got another one here. I think it was this guy. Oh no, he's assigned as well. So where's the third guy? Oh, wait. I can't believe I didn't see him. Because he had no trucks in, I thought it was like the depot. Anyway, let's get him sorted on the concrete as well. And because he's got no trucks, let's assign those. So I'm going to buy... I'm going to go one bulldozer. Bus again. Always prefer the German one that you need to buy in dollars. One bus. Back to rubles. Couple of concrete mixers because we don't got those yet. And our other depots are full. So let's buy two. Covered hull. I'm just going to buy one. Couple of dumpers. Excavators, I feel we've got enough with everybody else. We'll go one open hull, pavers, we've got road crane. Let's build one, one road crane. I'm looking at how quickly they can build, as well as how fast. This one, look, he can build at speed 30 and he can drive 80. I think that's the best. Yeah, and look, the price is the best as well. Okie doke, so that's all set up. I don't know if the following is available outside of Germany because it was made in East Germany and exclusively shown there. Do you know Sachsen-Glanz und Prusen Gloria? No, I don't. When you say shown there, do you mean is it a TV show? Fernsehen? Are you from East Germany? I don't know. I remember when I was very young, my grandparents used to talk about the Dictator. And that was before, you know, the wall come down, the Mauer. They were sort of talk about the Mauer and the Dictator and the Stasi-Agent. They used to talk about the Stasi-Agent. No, thank goodness them days are over, right? It was a TV show, no West, but my father's a big fan from that. Oh, nice. No, I've never seen or heard for it. There was a few things that I used to watch on German television, and obviously I'm going back a bit now. One of them was called Ein Fall für zwei, which was like a police thing where you had a couple of detectives and they were the Ein Fall für zwei. Oh, what else? Oh, jeez, what else? I used to watch a few things. I mean, obviously most things were English shows that were just dubbed over, but there was a couple of other things that I used to watch that I quite liked, and name escapes me. It's so long now. One of the main things I noticed different in German TV versus English, I don't know if they still do it, is when they had the adverts on, every 2 or 3 adverts, they used to have this little cartoony thing of this, you know, it'd be like a little cartoon that was like 5 or 6 seconds long, and then it would go back to the adverts, whereas here, it's just advert. Again, I don't watch TV now, but when I did, and I remember thinking, oh, I like that. I don't know, again, if they still do that or not, but back when I was young. Oh, what else? I'll have to think. I mean, my grandparents who I visited when I went over, I mean, they watched a lot of sport, football, obviously. Skiing, they like watching skiing. They were big skiers themselves. Wirf die Skifahrt. He used to shout at the telly when somebody wasn't very good. Wirf die Skifahrt. He used to get proper animated over it. Yes, here we go. We got our trucks delivering the first lot of cement here. And they'll be heading off back to get more. And here we got one of our cement trucks from the construction vehicle. So you see it's only half full, 5 out of 10. And that's because wherever he's going, the construction office has deemed he only needs to carry 5. So here we may see an overtake because this bus is going to be faster than these. We'll see if it happens. And you can see now, the more things you have connecting in at the side, the more, or rather the less likely they are to overtake. There we see an overtake taking place, so I'm glad I was able to catch it. But yeah, you see now how the more junctions you have, the more things mess up like that. The little cartoon on the first channel, that was kind of cute. Oh, they still are doing that. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, it was cute. And especially when you're younger, you know, it does keep your attention more than otherwise just having boring adverts. Yeah, yeah, he was. And I think it still is actually, but he's obviously a lot older now. But yeah, I'll tell you what, my granddad, you know, I don't want to say too much about it on here just because of the censorship and whatnot, but he was born in 1936 and was made with his class to stand at the side of the school when the man with the funny moustache come down the road, and he remembers and he says, we were all stood there. Wir mussten da stehen und die Fahnen die Fahnen, what they say? Yeah, die Fahnen, you know, they had to stand there with the flag and wave the flag as he went by. And so I don't know how many people you've got alive over there that have seen that guy in the flesh, but I guess there can't be too many left now. But yeah, he was one of them. And yeah, he was fun, and obviously after that lived a very good life as well as, you know, I mean, after all that was done with, I mean, Germany went from strength to strength, right? I mean, really, you guys from rubble came out and full employment, and in fact so much employment you were getting people in from abroad. You had too much work, and then I don't know, the computers came along, and I don't know, in the more recent times it's just not, you know, you got you know, a lot more dodgier areas now than you used to have. I remember last time I came, I remember thinking, God, there's a lot of dodgy types hanging around that never used to be. Crime and whatnot went up. But yeah, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful countries I've ever been to is Germany. Probably been to about 20 countries in total, and again, more when I was younger, right? My parents were reasonably well off. We got to travel a lot. Yeah, so we see coming on November now, halfway through November 1970, it's -2 degrees centigrade. Yeah, 1936. That fell rise. It's just weird when looking at it. Was squished in the middle of Europe through history. Yeah. Yeah. And there's something about the German spirit that you were just able to basically come from a pile of rubble. I mean, you basically did it twice in 20 years, right? And somehow you just, you know, you just got on with it. And yeah, I mean, I guess other countries, I mean, we were damaged to an extent as well, but obviously nobody was as damaged and as your lot. Now, how's the construction down here doing? Well, not much. I like that you can change the priority. And by the way, this notify when finished is key, because if you're, let's say you're building a supermarket, and back on topic with the game, you want to be told when that supermarket's finished, because of course then you need to deliver food and whatnot. You can't deliver food before it's finished, and so certain buildings you want to know when you're asking them to build it, your own people. Power station's another one, right? You need to deliver coal or workers, you know. Let us know when you're finished. Because as you get round, I mean, it's a huge map, right? As we've seen, it's a... If we zoom across the map, you know, I mean, you have so many things on the go in there, even though we're starting slowly in one corner. Here's another connection here. There's a load of rail there. You got 3 railway lines, which Whereas here we've only got one railway line. And when you start getting your industry up and running, you're going to wish you had more railway lines. So how are we doing? Yeah, so few workers. So because we got so many people living here, but they're all basically working in most of the areas. The fire station, the police, we've got the heating system here, we got the hospital. I mean, look how many workers are taking up here. Just a few in the cinema, but we've got the restaurant here. The shopping centre's employing 25. Another 15 at the art gallery. The wood saw shopping place. Obviously, we've got this place here. That's got another 15 or so. The water well. The water treatment. And that's not leaving many. By the way, we were trying to get this second place built. You see, it's going to take forever waiting for our guys to complete this road. It is huge. It is huge. There's no way. I don't think you could fill the map. I just think it would take you too long and you'd just go mad before. I don't know if anybody's ever tried, but how high was my pop on the best run? Well, I would say once when I played, and I basically got to the point where I was building my own boats, my own planes, and I took up, I would say, about quarter of the map. And in-game actual playing time to get that, I would say, was at least 100 hours. So me sat at the computer to get there was probably, I don't know, I'm talking over the course of a couple of months, playing 2 or 3 hours, maybe more, every time I played. And I can't remember what the population was, but see, total we're under 2. But a lot. It was, I had each, I develop each city a little bit more, and each one typically does 1 or 2 big functions. So this one's function really is to supply workers to this area. This one's going to be the university and that. And I maybe had like 10 cities like that. And of course, as the people have babies, you're continuously producing more people. It just, it starts to snowball. In fact, speaking of which, do we have any, not homeless, but they live at home with their parents, it's called. I've forgotten exactly where it's here somewhere. Let's have a look. Here we go. Here we go. Adults still living with parents, so if we check on that, so it looks so far 0, but at some point, if we don't build more houses, I mean, look, there are still places. If we look, 278 people can live here, and 337 can live here. We've got 278, so it's about 3/4 full. Same here. This one, yeah, so we've got room here. Any tips for someone who is going to buy the game? Yes. Watch tutorial, or try doing it yourself. Clearly, you're going to run out of money unless you're exporting stuff to your neighbors. So look for stuff that's easy-ish to export. Again, you're not going to get as much money from it. But if you watch my first time I streamed this work, as this is my second time, I set up my coal mine, my refinery for the coal, and then I'm exporting the coal. So every time one of these lorries here goes to the border, I'm going to get, in this case, 236 rubles. I guess I could buy even more dumpers. I'm just going to fill this off. All right, we've got the snow. I just wanted to point this out. Oh, and by the way, turn your difficulty settings down. You'll see when you start a new game, again, I'll show this on the first video, you have options on how difficult, do you want to have trucks needing fuel, your buildings needing fuel, you know, all stuff like that. You'll see the options. Set them as easy as you like, but don't. The game will quickly get boring on easy. Once you figure out the basics, start it again. So I'll go with that. And of course, if there's any one thing that you're struggling with or you don't know how to do, obviously do a Google search on that one thing. That's everything how I did, and there's so much help around. Anyway, back to the game. So I've got on pause, and I am going to finish with this because this is what I was wanting to show. You see, we've had snow, and look at the roads. They're snowed over, but we can see how slow the trucks are driving because of it. So if we come to our technical services building, we've got 3 slots left. I'm going to buy snowplow. And again, pros and cons. Some go faster, some slower. And for now, this is the best one. If you take a look, he can plow through the snow at 43 kilometers an hour. This one only at 21. This one at 19, 28, 23. So this one, 43. Even though he's not the fastest at driving, when there isn't snow, so he can only do 60. This one can do 85. But because they're going to be only out when they need to plow the snow, it makes sense to buy this one, despite the cost. So I'm going to buy 3 of those. We'll unpause. And again, this thing only sends trucks out when it needs to be. NXC is going to start and go. And you can change the priority here. So for example, you may say, it's a higher priority to do the roads that have got the street lamps, and that's because that's where your people are. So I'm just going to up that to 30, and then maybe your mud and your gravel roads are a lower priority. So, you know, you can tinker with that to your heart's content. I'm going to leave it like that. And typically it sends, you know, one truck one way, one truck the other way. And you can see they're going to start clearing the road. But then next time it snows, and it could be any time in a day or two, another week, whatever, clearly the road's going to get filled up with snow again. And from then on, it's a case of waiting until your trucks get sent out again. But they do a really good job. And once they've done the road, you can see here, your trucks come down it much quicker again. Versus here, you can see how slow when they've not done it versus when they have. So again, they make a huge difference. And so, yeah, don't necessarily play with snow the first time, seasons, because like we said, if you don't get your heating system in place before, your people will literally freeze to death and they will die. And then dead people, this game just doesn't work. You need your people, you need your resources, you need your trucks, you need everything, and you need more of everything. Do I have somewhat of a schedule? At the minute, every day, I don't really have a schedule. And what is my bigger channel called? My bigger channel is reserved for Digital Combat Simulator. It's called Fox 3 Simulations. And, yeah. But I don't live stream on that. I put a bit more time into just editing one video at a time. I prefer live streaming doing this. But you know, that one's, you know, the one that's more specific again, just a DCS. And I just like sort of do like one topic per video, if you like, that are much shorter than this as well. And so, yeah, I'll type it into chat for you, just in case you can't find it. All right, well, with the snowplow done and this, and with regards to streaming schedule, no, but again, at the minute, I'm doing at least 2 or 3 times a day, and I just pick a different game every time. And so, you know, not every game is for everyone. Again, it's terrible for YouTube numbers, you know, because people generally like one channel to stick with one thing, but that's what my DCS one is. I made this channel because I could just stream any game, and I never want to get tied down and start worrying about numbers, because that was the thing with DCS channel. I got monetized and all the rest of what comes with that, and when you do that, you start worrying about views, because of course more views equals more money. And then, oh well, if I do a video that doesn't do very well, and then the views get less. Oh, look at this. I wanted to show this when it's happened. We've got our first fire taking place. Now, no fire trucks are coming to deal. Why is there no fire trucks coming to deal? If we have a look, it's probably because... I'm going to guess they're too far. Hang on, let me just buy fuel in the fuel station now it's done. Is it because they're too far? And I'm thinking that distance could already be too far, which is a little unfortunate. Must be right on the limit. So to get around that, I'm going to build a fire station here, and then when this bus drops people off, they'll come to work. The problem is it going to be on time? Well, I'll show you a little cheat, if you want to call it a cheat, to get around it. But for now, let's build a fire station, because clearly this is too far away. We're going to lose the building if we don't. And there could be a fire again, so we need one over here. So I'm going to build the fire station about here. I paused the game, by the way, while I'm doing this. You can level the terrain while the game's paused, but you can't build, so it's kind of weird. That's where it's going to be. I got to unpause. Great, glad you found it. Let the building burn. I gotta make sure I've got a path from here towards my... Where are we? To my existing path. I just pausing, right, pausing again. So I'm going to build just the one fire truck. And then there's only going to be 9 jobs at this fire station. Now if I unpause, there's obviously no workers here. And they're not going to be any until at least the next bus comes, which is... well, that far away. By the time that bus gets here, the workers get out, get to there, this building will be gone. So there's a little cheat that you can do, and I'm going to show it now. Buy a small building like this on the small side, and I will end with this. Make sure it's got get citizens ticked. Make sure it's going to build instantly. Let's go for... that one will do. And I'm going to plonk it down near the fire station. Why near? Because the people have got to not have to walk very far. Say there. See, now that's cost me $5,000 to build. You saw it there on the price. I say, well, why not just let it burn and build it again? Well, here's why. If we take a look, this was, where are we here? The large distribution office. Look at it. Oh, the medium one. It costs $37,000. So this to me is a little cheat. I'd rather spend 5 than 37. So if I unpause, because I paid for this to be built, it's going to build really quick. And now because it's built, the workers have gone into the fire station. Or they're going to any second. Come on, there they go. So if we take a look, what we got so far, 3, 4. And so what's going to happen now is when the truck pulls in, it's going to have some ability to put out the flames. And there he is. And if we take a look at the building here, we can see the progress of the fire is very slowly getting put out. Now look at that, 8. Now it's 8 workers. The graph will go down a bit quicker. If it gets up to 9, it'll be even quicker. There we go. So see the reds dropping off. Now let's say some of those, let's say everybody but 2 go home. So you've only got 2 out of 9 firefighters left. They won't be enough to tackle the fire, and this graph will start increasing. And so again, that's a little cheat, is that building the house after the fire's started. And the thing is, once the fire's out, you can delete the house if you want. Because again, these guys are going to complain. They're too far from the heating. They're too far from any shops. They've got no amenities. And then in the future, when the bus comes, it's going to unload the workers. Some of them will come work there. And so that's why I think it's a cheat. And when you delete the house, you're not going to lose the people. In this case, we've got 33 people. They're just going to relocate to one of the existing buildings. So the only thing we're going to lose is the property that, again, set us back about 5,000. Looks like the fire is all but out. And there it is. And so, yeah, I'm going to delete that building. So I've shot, in my opinion, that when I say cheat, it's not really a cheat. What do they call it? An exploit. It's an exploit. And so I'm going to delete this building now. The fire's out. Again, because if I left it there, A, they're going to freeze to death because I've got no heat in here. B, they've got no shops. They've got no nothing. And for whatever reason, people don't really like to use the bus stop to get anywhere. They like to have the shop near where they live. Again, I would think if you've got a bus stop that takes somebody to the shops, that should work as well. But for some reason, it doesn't. They want to live near the shops, so that's fine. Anyway, we sorted it out. I'm going to delete that. I think see, they're building this road here. It's about halfway done. We're slowly getting there. Did we buy vehicles over here? We've got 4 left. Now look at this. The problem now is steel. Steel and steel. And again, we said, no, we're going to buy that. I did say that I was going to do that and then leave it. So let's do that real quick. So coming over here is for the general cargo. Over here again to the open storage. I'm going to select the medium one. I'm going to connect it up with the rail network and we'll actually drive them in using the rail system. And we've not currently got a rail connection, but we will do one. It's going to be really quick. Here it's going to be a straight shot in. So let's connect it here with the road facing this way. There we go. Right, cargo station. Again, cargo's important because we're going to need to have more than one lorry potentially at once. So I'm going to connect that there. That's a nice suggestion. There we go. Again, with this little yellow brick road to instantly connect the storage up with the road cargo. We still need their own road connection. Again, just in case there's a fire. That's the only reason, but it's the reason. Especially when you're talking steel, because it's so expensive. So I'm going to build that. Build that, build that. Our construction vehicles can do the path. Are they starting on this? Well, I'll just pay for that little one. They can build the longer one. Fire extinguished, delete, heating problem. Yeah, so that building that we destroyed obviously had a heating problem, so we'll delete that. The building is on fire. That was that one, yeah. So those messages out of date, we can delete those. Right, planning the railway path. Always electrified again, because you can also put non-electrified vehicles on an electrified line. You can't do it the other way around, clearly. I just think electric's better all around. Too far from our construction offices to get, so I'm gonna have to pay for this. I'm gonna have to pay for it anyway, but I was hoping not to have to pay for the hill. There we go. That's it. I might as well just pay for that bit of track while I'm here. So this is going to be my first rail line that connects. We can obviously import and export goods with that. And steel is the main thing that I want to bring in. Now, steel is really, really expensive versus some of the other stuff. So definitely something, if you can, you want to export later on in the game. You'll get a lot of money for steel. Obviously, you want steel to build stuff like cars, trains, planes, Helicopters, boats, rail, obviously, to develop your own network. So bringing this rail in. Let's connect it to here. I'm going to save. Now, rather than making this a parallel track, I will eventually make this track parallel. What I mean by that is add a second track running all the way along like we've got here. But for now, A, it's going to take a bit of time, but B, it's going to cost a lot of money. And you see, I'm starting to run out. So instead, I'm going to build a passing point. Let's go something like this to here. A little bit less to about there. Obviously, there's 3 tracks, so we can have up to 3 trains here trading at once, which to begin with is not really going to be a thing, but it will be before you know it. So I may as well set that up ready. And so here we've got a train. Oh, I like to have it on the right. It's going to come up to this signal, and the signal is going to let him through or not, depending if there's room. And if there's room, the train's going to come, pick whichever one, let's say the middle one. He'll load or unload, whatever. Then he'll come round. He'll pass through here. He'll swap over onto the right. And then he'll make his way out. And so that's the plan. They're all going to do the same. And then here, it'll be on the single track. So here we need the passing point. Again, I like to go on the right. They go that way. Just like in Germany, the cars. Obviously here we drive on the wrong side. Something like that. I'll just move those signals in the middle a little bit. Where are we? Right about there. Alright, the rail goes all the way here. I guess we'll need a passing point in the middle. Again, much cheaper and quicker to put in a passing point than go parallel the whole way. Something like that. And again, same rule. So they drive on the right. Do I have a community Discord? No, I don't. I will actually at some point create one, and I'll tell you why. It would be nice just to shoot out a message to say, oh, I'm going to go on half an hour on such and such a game. It's multiplayer. If anybody feels like joining, you know, come along. Otherwise, you know, ignore the message. Something to that extent. I've never met... Do you know what? I'm a bit of a wimp when it's come to Hearts of Iron 4. I've never even tried playing it multiplayer. And I think most people play it single player. But I do know it's got multiplayer option. But when I did a search online for multiplayer games on Hearts of Iron 4, there were so few videos. It's like, what, does nobody really do this? I know there's that one guy that does the big role playing on Hearts of Iron 4. But other than that, there weren't very many. So I tell you what, I'm going to look into that, and then yeah, that'll be the next big project, I think. A multiplayer Hearts of Iron. I tell you what, let me think where you can contact me. I'll tell you what, just this one time, if you go to my Fox 3 Simulations website, on there is an email you can contact me on, and then write to me on there. And the reason I'm saying like that is just, you know, so it's not making the email easy for spam bots to copy. Contact me through there, and then we'll look at setting up a Discord at some point. And if you know how to play Hearts of Iron 4 multiplayer, we can maybe do that at some point. That would be nice. And we'll set up the Discord, and then, again, if other people ever want to join in, they can do. Right, this is going to be my way out for the trains, and same as before. So the way in and out is parallel track, and then, again, they're going to join together on this single track. We've got one passing point there, and that's going to connect up here. So, again, same rules apply here. the normal signal out and the chain signal in to avoid the traffic jams, and we'll have another signal there. I'll have the chain signal there to make sure trains can fit through. Yeah, if you really want to know the difference between that, you'll have to watch my first video. Yeah, look at temperature, -12, starting to get a bit chilly. People would die now. And so with this now, we can set up our first train whose job is to bring steel to here. I realize we do need a connection though. So fortunately, this building allows for a rail connection. And that's how I'm going to do it. Like that. With a chain signal. Like that. Again, won't let anybody through if they can't fit. And then once they're here... I guess one of those. We'll see. We'll see if that's the right decision or not. Right, this guy, we're going to limit. Now, because it's not liquid, you can actually mix what's hauled here, you know, because you can have a pile of steel here, pile of bricks here, whatever. So I'm going to say no aluminium, so we'll delete those. No wood. No buds, because we've already got that sorted. No uranium. And so steel or prefab or bricks only. 1, 2, 3. Now to supply those at this stage of the game, we'll import them by train. And so just like we have our distribution office for the trucks, we can do the same with rail here. So I'm going to build a rail distribution office. And this really will be the last thing. It really will be, because I feel like I've gone on forever. And place him, I think here's going to be a nice spot. So let's pay to do that. Right. Yeah, it's a bit delayed. I've got the option when I start stream how much, not delayed, but there's normal and there's low latency option. And I just tick normal, but I guess I need to tick low latency to improve the delay, I guess, the chat delay. Right, plonk that in. I'm going to pay for this guy. So what this office will do is send out a train when it's needed. So it's not like a timetable train that runs the entire time, like the passenger one. This will only send a train when it's needed, and we basically give it the rules as to what we mean by it's needed. So let's build. A rail to there. Chain as well. So hopefully these chains will stop people, what's the word? Just getting stuck in traffic. Although I'm not sure this is the best way. We may need to add rails. We'll see if it works. We'll just wait on this to be completed. Is it going to be in range of the... Oh, it will be. Yeah, so the way to get this guy then... It's nearly there. Look at that. We've spent half our starting cash. So I'm going to buy an electric locomotive. I like this one. Relatively cheap. Goes fast. And then over onto the cargo wagon and these ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's buy 4. And we got some rules here, and these are important, otherwise the trains get too long and they can just get stuck in. Again, depends how you design your rail network. I basically build my trains so they're long enough to fit in one of these, or long enough to fitting on a station, but no longer. I think any longer it's just a waste. Plus, takes some locomotive a hard time. I think 105 I found seems to be a good length. And then the wagon size, which is basically the minimum, right? They're not going to set off with less. So I'm going to say the least is 3, but hopefully you'll set off with all 4. Okay. Now his job is going to be, there are none yet. Come over here. And load either steel, prefab, or bricks. That's it. Again, we've taken care of the boards. And then unload to here. Steel, prefab, and bricks. And we're going to limit it to, let's say, 50%. Why 50? Because again, we're having to pay for everything we import. And when we start making our own steel or panels or bricks, you know, anything that's there over above is a waste of money. Of course, if we use these bricks, you'll just send another train to get more. So that's okay. So, is he already on his way? Apparently not. Oh yeah, he is. I beg your pardon, he's here, look. So you see his first order is to pick up steel. So let's speed up time. Now watch how much this steel is going to be worth when it starts loading up. So there he is. Now look, he's got 5 and a bit tons and I've paused it. It's already worth over 2,000 rubles. It's going to carry 268 tons in total. So look at the cost. We're having to pay for all of that. You can see there the money just draining away. So let's speed up time. And I'm going to let go of the camera. You see the wagon obviously slowly filling up with the steel. So now over 50-odd thousand rubles. And the prices, as in real world inflation, go up. So what's 50,000 rubles in 1970 is probably going to cost you 100,000 or more by the time it's 1980 for the same amount. And look at that, we've got over 100-odd thousand now. So imagine we'd built that steel ourselves and we're selling it. You know, we would get basically that if we were to sell it on the border. So yeah, very nice to have, not so nice to have to buy. And again, you can ride along with your train. If you press that one once, you've got this view, and if you press it again, you get to jump inside. Press G to hide your stuff, and the bigger you build your stuff, you know, it's just a nice little interlude. And we did say we was going to end with this. So let's just speed up a little bit to get our trucks in. Sorry, our train in with the steel. Again, his job is to come round here. There he goes. And drop it off here. Again, I've sped up time for the purposes of the stream. So you see he's unloading the steel, as you'd expect. And with that sorted, he's going to be sent by this office, no doubt, to go get something else. So he's currently on his way back. Now, the reason he didn't drive straight in is because he's got to go in a straight line. So it's actually got to go all the way down here, around the roundabout, and then he can drive in. So it'll probably be to our benefit for future purposes to build. I don't know if we can fit in there. Well, kind of, but that's not really the best, most efficient way. Probably a better way is going to be, I know, we'll go up here. I'll tell you what, we'll even use this one. We'll go up here and then we'll wrap. Oh, no. There we go. We'll wrap this one round. There, that's going to be a better way to get him out quicker. And when you got loads of trains, believe you don't want guys clogging up the network everywhere, because they will clog it up. And this guy is going to be to go. That will be a one-way only. So go in there, back in there. There we go. You sent a test email. I will have a look. Yeah, so the train returning, I will have a look in a sec and I'll let you know. So this train obviously has been to get steel, but he's got 3 resources: steel, prefab and bricks. And so he's going to get sent out again. So if I click on him now, we can see his job now is to get the prefab panels. I happen to know that's what that icon is. And there you can see it, prefab. And then next time it will be bricks. Now because this here, our storage is connected up with a road depot, these people here, in this case, complaining about a lack of steel, we're going to say, well, your steel is from here. Yeah, because that connects with here. Steel, bricks from here, even though they're not there yet, but they will be in a minute. The same for the prefab. We're going to tell this one the same. Steel, bricks, prefab, and then this guy. And then you see we've only got a couple of things left, which is mechanical and electrical components. And it's going to be a similar process, but we'll save that for a future stream. And so, yeah, really enjoying it. You can see our town is slowly expanding. We've spent through a lot of the budget now. We've gotten into winter without any serious deaths. We're going to a university here for next time. But until that time, let's ride along with this guy. That's weird. When I hit out of game, it pauses. I was hoping it would keep going. Oh, no, it doesn't. Right, there we go. Yes, I've got your test email. Thank you very much. I hope this is going through and I didn't just use a false email. I'm the guy from your stream. Hope it goes well. Yes, it does. Thank you very much. I'll write back to you at some point. So all of that is good to go. Now you can see actually for a SimCity management game, the graphics on this are actually really quite nice, aren't they? Especially with this nice wintry effect that we've got going on. So I think all there is well. I hope everybody else is well. And until next time, let's see if I can... yeah, every time I press the start button, there's a pause for some reason. Yeah, that's going to be it for this stream and this game for today. And until next time, wherever in the world you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Take care. Bye-bye. See you.